So today we are going over preparing for the software engineering job, volume 3. And this one, we're definitely taking all the current information that's out there. We're focusing on the data that we have, data I've gotten from teaching my veterans, and we are applying that so you can understand the practical and tactical of what we need to be doing to prepare for today's current job market. Hey y'all, I'm Jerome right there. I'm your host for today, your educator. I'm the founder of Etsu Code. I'm actually celebrating my 10th year today in teaching veterans. I've taught over 300 veterans in software engineering and helped them all get jobs. So I've put about $20 million in the U.S. economy in jobs. I'm a software engineer in Microsoft, and I'm a fractional CTO at Myrick AI, where I focus on helping with HR and artificial intelligence. What makes me the person to teach this course the most qualified? One, I am obsessive about this subject. You'll never ever see me arguing about what version of app router or page router should be used, but you will always see me talking about what needs to be done for you to get the goal of being able to put food on the table for your family. When I left the military after the Great Recession, and I was told that I didn't have skills for the modern society, I had to learn I taught myself how to code, and that is how I transitioned into the civilian sector. And having the idea of being in air conditioning, the amount of people able to yell at me down to 4, and people want to kick my butt down to 0, I was like, I am never leaving this place. And I've been here since 2010, 2011. I've not left yet. So that's one piece. I know exactly how it feels trying to break into tech. I know how it feels to go through all these ups and downs of tech. I started when FTP was a big deal, and then when we shifted from FTP to AWS, and then I was here when Node.js or the Node engine from Chrome made its debut, and then we started having React all the things. I survived the JavaScript wars, where there was a new JavaScript framework dropping every 5 minutes. I remember, though, those were some exhaustive days. I don't know if you survived it, but having to figure out if you need to know Ember or Angular, and what's the difference between Angular JS and Angular without the JS, and React, and okay, how do I make sure that I tailor my resumes for this one? And now in the era of AI and post-COVID, I am still here, still helping people get jobs. As recently as 2 months ago, I had my last W, and I am here to help you make sure that you continue to win in this market, particularly in a market as volatile as this. Now we're talking about the market. Let's just be honest. Right now, this market in this year and this season is extremely volatile. All the top companies are trying to flatten their headcount with middle management, while also with artificial intelligence, they are trying to up the productivity of their mid and seniors while not focusing on hiring juniors, which is a mistake, but that is right now the game plan. And we have to see how these are impacting the market. It's harder for juniors to even get their foot in the door. People who have been at jobs 5-10 years are suddenly being let off, and they don't even have the experience of having to go through the job market process. The last time they applied for a job, it was, AWS had just came out, right? So we're in this very, weird state where people don't know what's going on, what's up or down, and it feels like unmitigated chaos, but there's a method to the madness. I call it market math, how people are doing it, try to figure out how to make their teams more lean, more productive, utilizing artificial intelligence while keeping the people they feel like will adapt faster to those technologies and still grow within the company. But yeah, remember, all these challenges are just opportunities, right? If I hadn't taken the challenge of picking up a random book on databases in 2011, I wouldn't be here today at 2024 talking to y'all about about code. Like, that is crazy when you think about the type of chances that you take with opportunities in chaos. So let's not focus on the negative of this. We're gonna, we approach the world the way it is, but we focus on making the world the way we want it to be. And that's what we're gonna do to achieve our goals, right? So we're gonna focus on navigating and, winning in this environment. This is one question I get asked by juniors every day. This is my official stance on leveraging using AI. Artificial intelligence is an integral part of the hiring process. Therefore, it should be an integral part of your education and getting hired process. You have to learn how to use the tools that are going to be used in the market against you, for you, and with you. That's just, there's no way around it. That is the equivalent of coming to front-end masters, saying you're going to learn React, but refusing to learn TypeScript. No one in the enterprise market does React without TypeScript these days. So you're hurting yourself when you opt out of not learning the technologies that are required for you to learn, right? So whether starting lower level or even going to bigger level to understand like what these models do and how to understand them, how to code with them, especially in the era of cost efficiency, that's going to be a very big thing, especially for JavaScript engineers to be able to leverage, because people don't understand how expensive this stuff is. So definitely go out there, learn how to use this stuff, learn how to build with this stuff. Start learning how to use it now. That's what I want to put out there. First thing that I focus on is we have to know our adversaries. We have to know the things that we're working on. Now, I don't use adversaries like a violent word. I'm just military adversaries. Just, hey, this is my opponent. These are the things I had to prepare for, right? So what I have created, and this is what I use with my troops, I call it the user matrix. And my user matrix framework helps them and helps me be able to identify the needs and wants and tactics that we have to use for each level. Particularly for me, because I'm coming in from the outside in directly for, every experience, because I'm not working on my experience. I'm leveraging someone else's experience, right? So my user matrix, 4 components. My framework, this is where I start at every day with every new troop, every new civilian, and I work through these with every person, right? I'm actually going to share with you later on one of the project boards that I have that I share with my troops, and I make them start answering these questions, adding me as a collaborator so I can learn part of this with them. My first user 0, because programmers start counting at 0, right, is you. You're the first user. What I've learned in 10 years of experience is that if I can get you to focus on your personal passions and how to figure out what makes you click when it comes to this type of industry, particularly in times like this, you're not going to survive. You're not going to win. So my number one priority at this stage is to see what is in tech that makes you want to A, be in tech, B, thrive in tech, and how to make you stand out from your constituents, while also how to get that mental toughness and grit for when, the market's crazy hard, right, like it is right now. So that is my first user in every conversation, and that should be your first user as well. Start with you. Start with what are the things that you want to do. I have my own personal philosophy, including I have what is called a 5 a.m. rule, which is what is the type of tech that I would love to work on. If somebody called me, there was an outage at 5 a.m., I wouldn't be super mad if I had to go roll out of bed and build on this stuff right now. You can have your own personal philosophy, right? But that's what that is what user 0 is about, us diving deep and focusing on, all right, who you are, so that way we can build projects around the things you care about. So that way no one's sharing the same 3 Pitly projects, right? It's saying, oh, here's a JavaScript calculator, here's a Netflix clone, and what is the other most popular project that you see with juniors these days? Netflix clone, JavaScript calculator, and
to-do list.
To-do list, there you go. Those are the top 3 that you see, and you're like, okay, that doesn't really apply, and then you have seen this a million times. What are we going to do? Now, this is the scary one. For those that don't have networks, or either, let's say you've been in tech so long, you haven't been really focusing on your network, it's been the same job, or you're just now breaking into tech. ATS, which is applicant tracking system. So let's all talk about the big bad in the room, Workday. We all hate Workday combined. Like Workday is, I'll never be sponsored by them. So those are the applicant tracking systems that focus on keyword, technical skill identification. They have artificial intelligence built into them, whereas they start focusing on what words and what resumes start getting the most success rates, start getting hired from those clients. It starts dwindling down, and you have to start it's starting to get smarter and more difficult at the same time. So you have to beat the machine in its own game. So that is user one. When we do this is we focus on our resumes. We focus on updating our resumes based upon those components, and we constantly evolve with the machine. Yes, sir.
Are there any websites or tools to analyze your resume, like to pull out kind of like what it's seeing?
Cool. So I have my own resume GPT that I can actually make public and share with people if that's want to. But I have tested 3 different companies, and the company that works the best right now is Teal. Teal is the best tool out there.
How do you spell that?
TEAL. That's the best tool out there for your resumes. If you're for resume tracking and cleaning it up, making sure it's metric based, all the things that are evolving with the current market, that is the best resource that I've seen. If you're going to pay for a resource, that's what I recommend. User 2, HR managers. Now, 2 years ago, HR managers were fun because the cash was flush, and they could just throw job out there with like 20-30% more money than what the job is, and pick up whoever, and they get their percentage, you get your percentage, everybody's happy, right? Well, 2022 happened, and they were one of the first people that were cut in the culling of markets when it came to companies. And those that stayed, they are having to be very stark stewards of the jobs and the budget, right? So they're not as fun as they used to be, 1. And 2, they're looking for more false positives than negatives in the market right now. So these are the things where your clarity, your organization and your professionalism is getting, the one and done rule. We're like, oh, I see a typo, I'm not going to use this person's, we're not going to hire this person. Or, they're trying to find ways to disqualify you. And the disqualifications are, minor and insignificant right now in this market because how tight it is. Right now the talent is talent rich, but, job poor. Right, so they have to find the best client, the best talent for this one to take the job based upon that salary, and they're disqualifying people on the smallest things, unfortunately. So we have to focus on being sharper, as well as they are also using artificial tools. A lot of HR managers are using a lot of sentiment analysis tools to try to figure out not only on that first call. I don't know if you have gone through an interview with HR manager in a recent time, but they are using phone technology to during the call for sentiment analysis to A, see if you're lying, and 2, see to pick up if you're nervous, confident, what is your emotional status while you're talking to them, right? And then they're also having that recording and having other team members listen before they move on to the second round. Right? So this is the new game. So one of the things that you're going to have to do that we're going to go further into is you're going to have to practice your interview skills a lot more, particularly your elevator pitch, and just practicing how you speak to people in general, because that's part of the new interview phase when it comes to artificial intelligence.
Any tips for staying confident?
Practice. Biggest tip is practice. 1, you have to understand that the person on the other side of that line doesn't know you as well as you know you. So, make sure that you're practicing the pitch, practicing the things that you want to say that's going to make you stand out, right? Practice ensuring that you have your metrics. It's very metric based right now. They want to see, you know, what you've not only what you've built, but what was the impact of his building. Even if you're a junior, like, which is why building in public is so important now, because you know how many users have touched your portfolio. How many are you getting feedback? How are you handling feedback? Things of that. So that is what you do. You just have to practice. You have to keep practicing. Get your pitch down. You understand how to tell your story. And also, like I said, remember, this person does not know you better than you know you. So you don't have to be nervous. Be confident in your skills, right? In the military, we have a saying that lack of confidence and nervousness comes from lack of preparation, right? So the more you prepare, the more you practice, the less nervous you're going to be, right? Because that nervousness comes from things external that you can't control. I can control, well, the things I know about me that I'm going to tell a person, right? So I'm going to practice that and I'm going to get better at that, right? Now, developer teams. Used to be that unless you're getting for the Magnificent Seven, you weren't going to go through a 3, 4, 5 round interview process, right, with the developers. Now, in this current market, it's very normal to go through multiple rounds and have multiple developers. I have seen at least 2 that's for, pre-IPO startups where, you have to do the code challenge and then you have to do multiple round interview with the dev team. And, that is, very different than what we were even getting 2 years ago, right? Unless you were going for the Microsofts, NVIDIAs, Apples of the world, you were, it was a 3 interview process. And then you were like, okay, cool. Now it's 5, 6 rounds for the interview. And, the developer team is playing a much more hands-on role for it. So with these, they want to see if you're a team member, how you collaborate as a unit, how do you communicate, and of course, focus on technical skills. In this era where everybody's focusing on productivity, the harsh reality is the things that are being pushed away is like, how do we onboard? Like 2 years ago, onboarding was such an important holistic approach. And now we're seeing, because everybody's trying to move fast, particularly in this current era, like trying to adopt new technologies, they don't want to have to spend the time onboarding you in a company and onboarding you into the stack as much as they used to. And while that is a detriment to the talent, the current market, that's the world we live in, and we have to be prepared for that. So you have to, and I'm also seeing a lot more computer science questions, a lot more complexity and talking about performance within the code challenges. So we have to start planning and practicing for that when we're building out our plans to get on the market. So the matrix is a strategy improving how you present well for your work, and also how to continuously present well for yourself, right? I use the matrix on myself regularly to build like my projects, to build what am I going to build next externally, how am I going to explain it, what is my next career step, etc. Right? So that's how I focus. I use the user matrix on me to focus on how to prepare well for the market. I want you to start using the user matrix for you to enhance your professional success and your chances, and keep it going for yourself, right? Like that is one of the biggest things that I want you all to take away. This is right here is the core foundation of my style of self-improvement, as well as helping my troops and helping the civilians that I help, right? For keeping a nice long career. I'm always assessing, starting here and assessing with these things with every job, even the job I'm at currently. I'm looking at, all right, when I'm thinking about the developer teams, I'm looking at, okay, what developer teams aren't being impacted by firing, and what are the skills that those developer teams at work have, and what do I need to do to quickly upskill on those skills, right? When Microsoft 2 years ago was starting talking about AI and big data, I started learning Python on my own, because in case things changed drastically, I wanted to be able to say, hey, I already have this skill, So I can go over here and do big data and do data engineering. And that helped me not only with one of our projects where we had to do data engineering because I was already upskilled in Python. It also helped me prepare for the current era of AI since JavaScript and Python are two of the most popular languages in this space right now. So that is how I, even my current role, planned out how, hey, based upon user 3, what do I need to do? User 3 being developer teams at Microsoft. What is the business line? Focusing on, hey, this is what the business line is paying the developer teams to do, and these are the safest teams. Let me acquire these skills, right? So like even when you're at your current job, you can be using the matrix.
Front-End Masters helps you take control of your skills and gain the confidence you need to advance in your career. Our practical, real-world courses are taught by experts working on large-scale applications at companies like Netflix, Stripe, Google, and more. No one goes deeper into the foundations of JavaScript, and we continue to grow further into design and back-end. We have curated learning paths built from hundreds of courses. Whether you're a junior, mid-level, or a senior developer looking to expand your skills, these paths will give you the foundations you need to reach the next stage of your career. Plus, all of our courses are recorded live throughout the year, giving you the opportunity to ask your questions directly to our instructors. This allows us to keep our courses fresh and up to date with the latest best practices. Grab a membership today and gain the confidence and the skills you need to get to the next stage of your career.
The next thing we're going to talk about right here is modern resume optimization for applicant tracking systems, or ATS. You're going to see that acronym a lot. I view ATSs as the big bad for juniors and seniors alike, because even if you have a robust network and someone can send you a referral, you still have to have a great resume. You just can't sit there and send, a piece of paper with your name that says, my friend said I'd work well here, right? You can't do that. So you have to have a good, modern, robust resume. No more 1 to 3 pages. Even if you're a senior, stop at 3 pages, right? Because there's no, if you've been in tech past 10 years, there is nothing from year 1 that's probably applicable to the type of careers that you're looking at, in year 10, right? So that's what you have to think about as well. So no more than 3 pages. Make sure it's diverse. It showcases. Remember, this is your highlight reel. This is what resumes are. They are your highlight reel that starts with data and then ends with stories, right? So let's go further into it. You have to showcase your extensive experience, that you have strong technical skills, impressive achievements, leadership and collaboration, your educational background if you have it. Now, there's a big debate that if you're in a code school, do you put that under education or do you put that in work? I have a philosophy of you should put it in your educational background, but you can put anything that you do that's open source or actually like contract into work, which is why I am always pushing people to do open source projects, right? The open source community is out there to help you level up your game faster. Some people are like, put it in work because, but I'm like, it's one of those processes, especially go to for-profit code school. You're going to put it in work when you paid them. That's kind of a weird flex, but, whatever. So that's my opinion on that. Continuous learning and certifications, especially if you are mid to senior. People want to see that you are still out there learning, right? They want to know that you're still out there. You're not just sitting on your laurels, not leveling up your game, not stepping up your game, right? So you have to make sure that even if you don't have a degree, you're still showcasing, I'm still out there, learning new things, right? Recognition and awards. Now, not everybody has these. You can omit this if you don't have it. Diverse projects, definitely showcase diverse projects, especially projects that are in production. Remember, projects, I don't even call them projects, I call them products. Products that people are using outranks projects that are in production, outranks projects that are not in production. So building a thing that people use, no matter how small, is going to get you further than building a thing that is live that no one looks at. And that's going to get you even further than building a thing that is theory, that is not live, right? So projects, and then, just code that doesn't live anywhere on the web, right? Just repos. That's how you should be ranking everything you build. And you can start small, right? Some of the most popular projects or products that have happened in Vet2 Code are lists on repos that just help people do things, or our web developer, our web dev guide for Windows. It was shared with Microsoft, and I don't have a Windows machine, so I didn't know anything about it. But everybody was like, "Hey, I wish this was shared to me when I was learning JavaScript on Windows," and they ended up getting over 100 stars, right? So and random troop did that, and they ended up getting a job just because of that, right? So products that people can use, projects, and then projects that are like just code. You have to rank it based upon the usefulness to users, because once people use it, you get metrics, and when you get metrics, you can add that to your resume, and it's like, oh, this showcases how to track value, right? Because that's what our resume is about: tracking and sharing our value. Volunteering and leadership. Let's say you volunteer for Black Girls Code. Is there another organization? What's the Last Mile Foundation? Which is a great foundation that Front End Masters actually supports, that helps incarcerated people learn how to write software, or Vet2 Code, right? You showcase that you're doing that work, and pouring back in your community, particularly with your skill set. That's extra points. People love looking at that type of stuff. And of course, publications, whether you're self-published your own blog, or you get some cool, crazy stories that you can share. Publish went viral on, what's that? Not HackerRank. It's Hacker News. Yeah, there you go. That's the one with the bad UI that programmers use. Here's a resume, a template based upon resumes we have seen that work this year, right? So it's very plain, formatting super simple, very legible. This is what you want to keep it as. You want to make it as easy for a robot to read as possible. Remember, it is a highlight reel, but it is also going to be read by a machine at first, right? So a lot of the formatting quirkiness that we would do in the past, and bolding and things like that, it's already going to look for the keywords. So you don't need to bold or do any of the keywords like that. That doesn't make any sense. And some of that formatting throws the machine off, right? So what we've been doing is we've been using plain text and just putting that directly into the machine and seeing what works. And so far, this is what we've had our highest success rates with, right? You have your information for this one, we use just the LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is kind of robust. That's where everybody goes to first anyway. Professional summary, with making sure that I include that I'm using full stack development and cloud technologies. I want to make sure that I am saying what type, I'm using product, but I'm also using cloud. Have a track record of system performance, leading successful projects, and continuous learning skills. Adept at collaborating with teams, because knowing how to collaborate saying that is now a big resume smell. They want to know that you know how to work with people, or they want you to know that you're thinking about how to work with people. And going from there, now in my work experience, as you see, I'm saying where I worked at, was it remote, was I in the city, etc., and how long I worked there. But I'm saying I'm using data, right? I'm using percentages. I'm saying we optimized this cloud infrastructure, increased performance by 35%, reduced costs by 20%. There's a lot more metrics that are being asked. They want to see the value that you bring in your role a lot more on your resume, right? We're seeing metric-based resumes getting a lot more positive feedback, a lot more callbacks than those resumes that do not have metrics on them. We're also seeing that the cutoff is usually 3 pages. Once you go past 3 pages on your resume, they're kind of like, this is overkill. You get, it gets thrown out by the computer and everything else. So 1 page to 3 pages is what you really want to go, 1 to 3 pages, right? I'm also, as you see, as I keep going further on, I keep that, I say what I did, I say the value of it, and then I also say the technology of it, because I know that those keywords are going to be picked up. So if I know I'm going to be, AWS is popular, Azure is popular. I've worked with AWS, I worked with Azure. I'm going to put that in there. I worked with Node.js. I'm going to put that in there. I work with React. Now here's a gotcha that we have been seeing. Saying you work with React, you need to say the backend technology that you worked with React these days, because a lot of people, particularly with after the update of the Facebook documentation, they are now, are you using Next.js? Right? Like that's what they want to know. They want to, are you using Next? And if you're using Next, are you using Vercel? That's because that's what they recommend now. If you're going to go production ready, you just don't even use React. Just use Next.js. It works, right? So that's what it says on the docs. So that now when you're saying you're using React, you need to make sure you have what backend technologies you're using React with, right? So you're using React with .NET. You have to make sure you say that. You just can't say React. You're using React with Django or Flask. Like I always recommend to the dangers of Flask versus Django, for instance. One is a lot bigger than the other one. Flask is tend to be, I believe it's Flask, it's the smaller one, and Django is the bigger, more robust framework. And what people see, they see Django as is closer aligned with like Java Spring and .NET. So that is what I always recommend people. Like, you're going to be doing Python, make sure you're building things with that. And then, but whatever you're using with React, if you're just using React, you need to make sure that you're saying with the backend that you're using. But if you're using Next.js, say that, right? And talk about your collaboration, right? Your cross-team collaboration, knowing that you have that experience and you're implementing user-centric features, or you're boosting user engagement, whatever you're doing, how you're implementing productivity, how you're helping with the planning meetings, etc. And make sure you're putting those examples on your resume. So after I get done with my jobs, and making sure I have all that metric-based stuff, now I have my education. I skip this because my education doesn't matter. I just leave it out immediately, like when it comes to college, because I have a criminal justice degree from through this community college, Air Force, and FSU. No, only time I use that thing is when I'm like trying to figure out like who gave the dogs too many treats at home. Like literally, like which child is overfeeding the dogs is the only time I have to like actually use my degree. So that is where that it ends right there. 4 boys figuring out like detective work on who's treating the dogs. What I do add though, I do add all of my certifications, because particularly in this market, if you're a junior, entry level, or you're getting back in the market as senior, the certifications help. They give a lot less time than going back to school full time, or as well as a boot camp. They're more centered on the technology directly, and they give you more credibility and more chances. It's more a foot in the door. I used to 4 years ago. You asked me about certifications. Like, you don't know certifications, you just need the experience, right? Be able to talk about it. But now, in this current market, you do need the certifications. Now people ask me what type of certs. The way I look at certifications right now is you need to go directly to the company of whatever thing you're trying to certify. If you're going to try to get certified on something cloud and you don't know which cloud you're going to do, you do CompTIA. I hate to say it, I don't feel like CompTIA is getting as far as what is getting you as far as other certifications are. But if you have to pick one, go AWS, go Azure, go directly to Microsoft, go directly to AWS, get those certifications from them, So that way you have that legitimacy, right? Awards and recognition. If you have awards and recognition at work, do it, please. If you have awards and recognition in your community that's affiliated with your job, do it as well. Even if it's just, if there are big awards in your city, also at them. My first couple awards had nothing to do with my job, but they were so big that, if I didn't add them on my resume, it'd be kind of weird because people, your people hide, they Google you and they like research you, and then they don't want to. The biggest problem I was omit things, and then like, oh, Jerome's 40 under 40. It's like, oh, why did you not put that on your resume? I was like, didn't matter. So, but now I know better, and I know. Let me put this on my. Let me put that on my resume so it doesn't pop up or something like that. I make sure, but I'm also much better in controlling the things that are on my in my SEO on the internet now. So all my stuff is tech related. So I put that directly in my awards and recognition projects. Now here is what we get into a problem when it comes to most mid and senior, right? Like juniors, we already know their problem, right? They don't have enough meaty projects, but mid and senior, they have projects that they can't talk about, right? We've all been in a situation where the bulk of our work can't be discussed, right? Unless you're like in e-commerce or you're in media, right? Especially, or if you're in government, you can't really talk about a lot of the projects that you're on, a lot of the things you built. So what I recommend is sanitizing those projects, right? And then turning around and talking about exactly what you built. We did a project at work with Kroger that it was sanitized on my resume until Kroger did a whole article on it. Then I was like, oh, now that Kroger has said something about it, I'm going to say something about it and add it to my resume, right? The same way, until the companies say something about what we're doing, I don't say anything about it. I sanitize it, but I keep that work that I've done on my resume, right? And I talk about how the value that I brought within the project. You have to talk about the project and like the value in the data, right? This is a data-driven world. Like even I have e-commerce platform, I have 1 million transactions a month because we are dealing with a robot with our resume the first time. I am going to have a list of my skills, plain and simple, right? For those keywords, because I can't put everything, especially if if I have technologies that I'm still proficient in the past 10 years, I might not put them in here because I'm like, oh, I'm assuming that that I'm doing this because it's a, part of tech. We can't assume. Right? I can't sit here and assume that because the robot is, we're all technologists in here. We know version control is a thing, right? The robot it's not going to assume that I know version control, that I know GitHub, or I'm using GitLab, or was it like a subversion or something like that out there? So it's not going to assume that, right? It's not going to assume what text editor that I use. I'm going to put I use VS Code as my workflow. I use GitHub. I'm going to talk about the tools I use. I have Docker experience. I have I deal with a lot of infrastructure as code. I'm going to make sure I say I don't use acronyms. I try my best to do everything you can to stay away from acronyms on your resume. If you have IAC, that means nothing to the computer. Infrastructure as code, though, that means something. That's a term. That's a keyword term that means something to the machine, right? Then when it sees that and it starts looking for what tools that you've used, because it's going to go to your skills. Oh, you got Docker, you got Kubernetes, you have Jenkins, you have all these, you have AWS, Azure. You have these tools on here that are also going to be used with infrastructure as code. Now that's starting to make sense, right? Make sure you have your skills on here and you're not using any, unless they're common. Like if I'm going to use PostgreSQL or SQL, however way you say it, I don't, whatever. I'm not going to argue with you on that. That is what that's one that I'm going to use it on. Like that's my favorite database. I used that database when that was my first database I ever learned. And funny story, DARPA actually funded the creation of that with Stanford. So it has a military background. Um, and I also put your soft skills, right? Like leadership, communication, problem solving, team collaboration. I put leadership on mine all the time because I do a lot of leadership work in volunteering. So with Vets Who Code, so people see that and I want to make sure they know that, I know how to lead even at the lowest level, even at a social impact level, right? Like I have that leadership ability. Your local tech meetups. I think that's coming back now after, a couple of years due to COVID. People are starting to meet up more in public. I'm actually a big fan of, going to your local tech meetups, doing talks. That's one thing that helps your imposter syndrome, starting locally, asking for feedback, going there, and it helps you network as well, right? People help you, work on your things while there. I think local like tech meetups should have a section where they're just doing job prep because that is something that would make those local tech meetups more impactful, right? And of course, publications. Even if it's your own blog, if it's something that was popular that you may want to make them write or read, I have always put a publication or something I wrote on my portfolio. I mean, on my resume, even if like I wrote it and it was on Medium and no one cared, to like now where I do write it, I can write in an external thing and someone might be like, yeah, we're gonna, put that out in the world and people care. Always show people that you're always trying to share knowledge. Always, like, that's why, we have people always asking for your Stack Overflow, or they used to. I don't know if they do that now, but I know about 5-6 years ago, they used to always like, hey, add your Stack Overflow, add your LinkedIn, add your GitHub, right? But the reason they were asking for your Stack Overflow was to see how you communicated and how you shared knowledge to other people. Right. So blogging is a way of doing that. Blogging, vlogging, streaming. Like this world is so different now. I have had students get jobs off of vlogging. I've seen blogs get people jobs. I've seen vlogs. I've seen tweets. I've seen, there's no wrong way in doing this when you're building out a public. I've seen projects. I've seen products. I've seen lists. This world is crazy. Put anything that is getting traction and it sets you apart from everybody. This is where you start building your personality and your highlight reel on the second page. First page is all, we have this talk about sizzle and steak. You do it in reverse, where the first page is all the steak, where you're making your strong case, database analytical case right there for ATS. But then as you get further down, you're able to start showing more personality and put more sizzle on it, right? So it would be like, if you were to do something sous vide, right? You'll cook it sous vide and then you'd add you would sear it later type deal. So I guess a resume should be more like a sous vide steak then.
Is this resume tailored to just USA, or do you think it would work just kind of anywhere?
I have tailored it to USA, but I will make it international. I know the UK does a lot more, has a different style from the United States, and I believe India also has one. It's more, they want the education more up front than the work experience, but America prefers the American market prefers more work experience up first than education. So I can tailor it based upon those other markets, but the data still stands strong.
Are there job boards to apply, like LinkedIn, et cetera? Like, are you going to cover places where you can actually submit your resume?
All right. So 2 places that we've tested this at that we were getting very good metrics was Indeed.com and LinkedIn. So using LinkedIn, we literally just had a troop. We did their resume, had them do easy apply, and just easy apply to every job that they saw and see how many jobs they would take before they were getting hits. And then on the same way on Indeed, all right, apply with this resume right here. And we wanted to see just how good it is without the extra tailoring. This person already had a job, so we weren't playing with someone's life, of course, right? That would be cruel. Junior already had a job doing informational work, and that is the data and resources the data that we learn. Yes, sir.
A common resume question about how far back to go in history. For instance, this person has 14 years of experience in network admin, sysadmin, before switching to web development? Is that something that
Which
he would
role
include?
do they want to stay in? They're trying to stay in software
You're
engineering.
trying to move to web development from like a network sysadmin
Oh,
type.
well, I don't go past 10 years. That's the simple. Because even when going to fintech or legal or anything like that, they don't go past 10 years on their background checks. So I
What
don't
if
go.
the job was 14 years at the same company? Would you put
I
that?
would just put 14 years at the one company, 14 years. But the real problem that we're having there is how we're going to try uh, how to leverage those skills that you learn in the job, and then say how that would help, in your current, journey for software. You're moving from hardware to software. We want to know how that translates, and that's what you have to really focus on. You have to take down those hard skills. Then you have to do a pattern matching translation of those for the new hard skills that you're going to be doing.
A bit of a motivation question. If I'm constantly out there applying for all these roles, how do I manage energy between like making my projects better or volunteering or these kinds of things?
Well, I know you're not constantly applying. You're time boxing. You should be able within 25 minutes to apply for a few roles a day, right? But don't apply the whole time. You want them. It's like an iceberg. The majority of your time should be focused on networking, building long-term relationships while networking, and building meaningful projects, right? We'll go further into this, but you can use your projects to build your network that will help you with your job search. One of the things that we learned during our studies for this past year is when you're building products and you're out there on the market, the jobs that you'll get recommended for, or the jobs that you'll get hired for, probably won't be the jobs that you apply for. Right. So I'm a living testament of that. The job I have today, I did not initially go looking for it. I was minding my business on Twitter when the hiring manager slid into my DMs and was like, "Hey, I would love for you to come work with us at Microsoft." I was like, "What? I don't know about that." And then here I am at Microsoft. So like that is when you're building things, people notice. So
Assuming you're going to cover this a little bit later, but tips to deal with ageism, or like if you're advanced in your career, like for instance, this person online said she has 27 years at one company. It was a great job, but now she's back on the market. So how do you think about that?
Well, 27 years. Wow. I would love to know the job that would keep you there for 27 years. But it comes down to being able to showcase, your growth within that company. One, if it was a tech job, and two, how those skills translate and how you've been staying current on the market. Because when you see, people are accustomed to people jumping now every 2 to 5 years, right? So once you get past that sweet spot of the 5-year mark, people assume that you've gotten comfortable and you aren't growing at the clip that the external market is, right? Because of how fast tech changes versus how fast tech changes at a job versus how it changes externally. People are assuming you're not keeping up with that stuff. So you have to showcase how you're keeping up with the modern tools and technologies externally while working internally, even if you're not using it. That's one of the reasons why we continue, even when we have jobs, to build projects to showcase, hey, I am still keeping up with with the kids outside, right? So, but we could definitely, that's a very good use case that we could dive deeper in later.
Yeah, and then we have the other end of the spectrum on the chat where he's saying he has very little experience and is trying to build that experience because he's not getting callbacks at all.
Build products.
So,
The first thing I hear when I see someone say they're putting their resume out, and if I see more than 50 applications, the first thing I'm going to is their code. And then I'm going to what is live. And then I'm going to go and see what is live, and I'm going to chop that up and see, okay, this is what you haven't done. This is what you need to do. There are certain things that on here, I call myself, if you look at it, I say the roles that I am doing on this resume, but I still use the term full stack. I don't say I'm a full stack engineer because that's a red flag. And all ATS systems, right? And hiring managers, when they want you to talk about full stack, and in terms of that, you've built on a full stack, but they don't want you to call yourself a full stack engineer. I call myself software engineer. That's what I do. I build software, but I've worked on the full stack. I've worked in, different components of a stack that, you might not even think of. Like, I've worked on the product side, the data side, the DevOps side. I've touched all of those, right? That makes me software engineer, right? But I've worked on the entirety of that stack. So it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. It can be red flagged, right? It's very, like I said, very meticulous, very wild world we're living out there, where I can have work experience at Tech Corp and call myself a senior full stack engineer, and that would get flagged. But if I call myself a senior software engineer, it'll get greenlit, right? So that's how the market is.
How do you handle imposter syndrome and comparing yourself and your abilities to everybody else constantly?
One, I'll start from the second question first. Don't look at the scoreboard. Focus on what you can do and train, right? Like, I find that I have the most imposter syndrome on the things that I train for the least, right? Like, if you ask me to go and build something in Go, I would have crazy imposter syndrome because I have touched absolutely no Go. I don't know anything about that. But you ask me to do something in Python, my imposter syndrome would not be as strong, even though because I have 3 years of experience in doing that at an enterprise level. If you ask me something in JavaScript, I'm like, of course, yeah, let's do this. Like, yeah, I have, almost like a decade of experience, right? So that is how we do, deal with imposter syndrome is we keep, like, you keep doing things, practicing, you keep doing things publicly, right? Part of your imposter syndrome is you're not getting feedback, negative or positive, right? No one's saying anything good or bad about your work, so you're not understanding where you can improve. So and human beings are naturally negative and hearing just the bad voices in their head. So if the only critic you have in your life is you're gonna tell yourself you're trash all the time. But if you are getting external feedback and people are showing you, hey, you can improve here, or I really like what you did here, you should do more of that, like, that is how you get better, right? Like, and that external feedback makes you better, and you get more good jobs than bads, and now your imposter syndrome is down. Like, oh, I can really do this because somebody actually liked the thing I built. Like, that's cool.
So I'm one issue that exists in general in the job market, especially with COVID and schools being closed and everything, is people have these so-called gaps in their resume. Like, maybe they have to attend to having children who aren't in school, or elderly family members, and so they have what LinkedIn calls a career break. Have you seen if that is a red flag to employers, if there's not a continuous line of time in a resume that the AI system is gonna
Negative. I have not seen that as long as it's placed, right? Well, the AI doesn't red flag like, hey, or you stopped at this job and then you started this job. It just says, your bounty years of experience. It doesn't pick up the career breaks, but people on LinkedIn, and you can say career break and, new kid, or, taking care of loved ones, things of that nature, right? We're going to start getting into the GitHub portion of things, and we are going to get into what I view the most underused feature on GitHub, which is the GitHub projects board. This is a military statement. You fail to plan fail. And that's what Project Boards is about. It's about building out your plan. I go there and I'm starting to build out tickets and going into the process of how do I plan my questions, how do I plan my career, how do I plan my learning, everything. This is something that you can make public and you can showcase to via GitHub profiles, via your website, anything in real time to show your growth. So we're going to focus on understanding it, setting up our board, documentation and visibility, analytics and storytelling, and best practices. Like I said, this is about showcasing your work ethic, right? Especially for the juniors out there who are like, how do I show what I'm learning? All right, so now we're into user 2, user 3, showcasing, not only we know what we're doing, but we're keeping growth, right? Or even if you're mid or senior, right? We want to showcase how I'm growing, how I'm learning. People always have that question, especially at Microsoft, where we have that like learn it all philosophy, right? So you're always talking about, all right, you want to be a learn it all. How do you upskill? How do you learn something new, right? Well, this helps with you showcasing that framework. Oh, how I learn something new? Let's go here. Let's go to the project board and showcase what's on my list of things to do, and let's showcase my volume of what I've done and how I've learned it, right?
Does this tool come with a free GitHub account?
Yes, it does. It is free. It is, if you have the, let me go, profile. It's right here in this tab right here, projects, your overview, your repositories, projects, packages, stars, and what you're sponsoring. It's right there in the middle. You're right here. Like I said, it says I have 6 closed. These are the 6 ones. Portfolio board, bunch of play ones that I've been practicing with. But let's go to the one that I want you all to use. This is a template. You can take this template, share it. This is the one that I recommend every junior starts off with. This is how I do my dev persona questions for user 0. And from user 0, I can help you build out anything to get you a job. From user 0, I know what projects I can help you build with, how to start mapping out your portfolio, how to start with your resume. With these dev persona questions, 17 questions that I ask everybody. And then I go from there and we start building out the plan. Your objective is modify and adapt this project board to better fit your specific goals. This first project is you. So I have 17 questions on there. Add 3 things that you would like your mentor to ask you to the project board, right?
Is this considered public, or is there a way to, while you're in progress and you're maybe not really proud of what you're doing yet because it's rough?
It starts private
Okay.
and you can make public.
Okay.
I always recommend, while I recommend building in public, I also, building in public when you're ready is also a very important thing, especially, you don't want to, mess around and I don't know, put some PII out there or something like that, right?
Yeah, and also just want to feel free to make mistakes that
Of
might not
course.
look good.
But mistakes are, people hate on making mistakes, and you should absolutely make mistakes public when it comes to code, because that shows growth, right? So, Adventure Time said it best. The first step of being kind of good at something is being, bad at something, right? So, Jake taught us all that. Yes, sir.
You recommend going through this with a mentor, right?
Yes, with a mentor. Add them as a collaborator if you want to go through it. But right now, I want to see you add 3 tickets to it. So go to the issues component, add 3 tickets, or just add 1, and then we'll ask you. We'll see how you can fit through it. So what I'm referring to, go here after you make it your own. Add an item. And add, let's say if it's me to if I was brand new, that would be the first question. That would be one of the questions I want someone to ask me, right? Is adding that ticket. I'll come here. Edit, description. As a veteran, I would like to know how to apply my military service as a part of my resume in my job search. Criteria. Showcase my work ethic while not impacting any mission or oriented, not get in trouble with the government. That was like the number one thing when I was coming out that I was terrified of, because I still had IIR, and I was like, I don't want to, mess up my secret secret clearance and accidentally say something I'm not supposed to say. So priority, I can't spell. High. Update, and there you go. I added my first ticket. So that's what I want. After you all get the duplicate, get the template, add a ticket. We've already identified our adaptation needs. We're reflecting on the structure and content, how that template aligns with our own projects and goals. Good job of making one for your project as well. Yeah, I'm not gonna bug you on your personal project because it's like a mech app, and I'm like, you don't want me going through your code, dog. I'm not a fun person going through your code. So, and altering those automation rules, and I think you should all do that. Play with that. Play with the GitHub projects. I liked seeing people make their own, because you want to be able to see what works for you, what's going to show your volume, especially when it comes to insights and that graph. That graph is, when you're talking about interviewing, I've had an interview this year, just informational, and I was showing them like my volume and graph just because I do so much work on Vetsu code. They're like, okay, you're building this ticket, you're doing things with AI, you're doing things with JavaScript, doing things with Python. You're all over the place and you're constantly learning. You're already on LLM compression and we don't even know what that is yet, right? So that is what, you want to be able to show just in the tickets without even showing code, like what you're working on. Like, it tells a great story when you're in those interview processes. I've had 2 informationals turn to full-scale interviews and then turn into offer letters this year, just for me personally, that I've turned down. So like, I know like some of this stuff, like this stuff works. Like, it really, like, you can absolutely use project boards to get a job and get into the final rounds.
Any recommendations for getting a mentor?
All right, cool. I actually have database on this. First things first, if you're an aspiring software engineer, you don't go past 2 years of experience for yourself. Matter of fact, just as a software engineer, period, you don't go past 2 years of whoever you're trying to find as a mentor. Because one, when you go past 2 years, that person is focused on learning as well. So it's either you're pulling them back to focus on the skill set that they've already proven, or that they have to move forward and try to teach you things that you might not be ready for, right? So one of the things that we do at Vetsu Code, you have to have a year of production experience to be a mentor, but you cannot have more than 2 years of experience for an aspiring software engineer. That's just what we've seen. So that's the first step. I would say, when it comes to finding a mentor, you don't have something in place for a system to do that. Start with work, right? Start with asking feedback on your projects, on your products. And then as people start giving you feedback, they kind of start falling into that mentorship role anyway, especially in local communities with formalities. I've always found it weird when people just come up and ask me to be their mentor. I'm like, we don't even know each other. You want to build that rapport first, because you might not even like me. I tell people all the time, I'm a very hard mentor. I'm very skill based. I will make you go and do something again. I am all in your issues, and I'm adding more issues to your work. I am straight up. I am your worst nightmare as a mentor. I'm not the type that's like, hey, good job. I'm like, hey, no, you got to fix this, fix that, fix this, fix some more of this. I'm going to make you have professional grade work already. So you have to be like, are you willing to deal with someone that's going to, when you ask them to review your personal project, piddly thing, and kick it back with 5-6 things that they want fixed, right? No one's even going to see this. I'm like, I don't care. I saw it. right? So you have to know that about that person before you like, hey, be my mentor. You have to focus on building those long-term relationships before you get to the, hey, will you formally pour into me? Will we have this meeting time? Things like that. That is like my recommendation. Like you have to be prepared to hear no, right? Because some people, they might not have the bandwidth, but also, like I said, if you're doing it the right way, that mentorship thing kind of happens organically, right? And that's what you really want on mentorship. You really don't want, it's not like a knight and squire thing that people keep trying to make it. It's like, you're not going to follow me for 7 years and then one day become a knight yourself. It's, I'm pouring into you it's going to be somewhat systematic, but it's also going to be organic. I want to see you win because seeing you win means I win as well because I am emotionally invested in your victories, right? That is what, you want it to turn into, right? You want, hey, I just did this big thing. You're like, what, really? You did? Let me go tell 3 other people the thing you did, right? That you don't even know and then introduce them to you. That's how you want your mentorship to turn into, right? You want to get to the point where you're not even asking. The stuff is just happening for you, right? And that's why you want to do it in an organic, showing, you want to add value to the relationship type way, right? So I guess that's a long way of me answering that question of how to find a mentor. I don't believe it's a one size fits all, but I do think that when you start with the things you build and then you go from there, it makes it easier. So we're going to move on to the crafting of your profile README and your profile in general. So we're going to create a professional profile, select a professional profile picture. Who all has a name on their GitHub that doesn't make any sense? And I'm like, is your name, are you at Jerome Hardaway like I am? Is it plain? Or are you like at Apex Fire or at, Superhero 72 or some crap like that? Please, we're going to start there. If you have time today, make a GitHub that has your plain name or change your name so that people can actually recognize you. If you're going to be using this for getting jobs, you got to be, you wouldn't use email Giants fan 72 or something like that on your resume. Don't do that. If you are going to do that, don't do that. Just treat the email rule and the GitHub rule is the same. Post compelling bio. If you saw my last course, we were very much about how to do the process of making sure that you had a elevator pitch or a brand document of yourself, right? So we're going to go a little bit into that, but we're not going to touch that as much because that was on the last course. You should definitely know by now. If you're a fan of me, you know that I'm very much about brand document and knowing how to sell and market yourself, and having your brag docs, and having a database of everything you need to be able to quickly go where you are. I still have the brand in Notion, the brand doc database example that if you need it, I'll definitely throw it out there for you. But you should definitely always this is your career. You have to start. One of the things that I talk about in my courses and my work is you have to, especially in this current climate, you have to start being counteroffensive and even on the offense when you're in this type of market, right? You can't be the era of just being just chill and whatever happens in your career is going to happen in your career. It's over. It's dead. You got to plan it. You got to do you got to be offensive. You got to be counteroffensive. You got to be thinking 1 or 3 moves ahead. You got to be thinking not like an employee, but like an employee partner with the company that you're with. You're an employee and you're a partner, and you know that your relationship with this partner, while you might love these people, is essentially value-based. And you have to keep that at the top of mind all the time that, this is a value-based relationship, right? And you have to treat it as such, and you have to continue to build your own value, invest in your own value, invest in yourself, use company resources. They offer that to invest in yourself but you have to keep that process going, right? So that is what hopefully, like we're on V3. If you have seen V1, V2, you know I'm very big, and you have to be counter-offensive with this type of work, right? Here are my rules for your bio pic. People are like, oh, do I have to have a picture? Yes, you need a picture of you. Please, no weird stuff. Like, I know everybody wants to have fun on GitHub, and you could do that 10 years ago, right? You could have like a picture of Sonic as your GitHub profile, and people would still like hire you. You can't do that anymore. Like, tech has grown up. I'm sorry. The days of, Mark Zuckerberg running around calling himself I'm CEO on his business cards. You see him, he's dripped out with a chain trying to get Gen Z to come back to Facebook, right? It's a different world. Like, we have to adapt with it. If Zuck can get drip, you can put your professional bio, like your professional photo on your GitHub, right? That's how we're going to look at it. Zuckerberg leveled up his dressing game. We have to level up our profile game. So with your professional picture, choose a professional photo that suits tech industry. Nice shirt, solid color. Maybe if you have a brand like me, I break the rule. I still know a regular shirt and stuff, but I have the whole Captain America of code thing, so people recognize me for that, so I can break the mold. Like, I can have me with a shield and a profile pic, etc., which is still at almost 40 is wild. I might retire the shield. I'm lying. Don't worry about it. But yeah. Good, nice image. You can have it like in COVID. We were experimenting with a lot of having it drawn avatars, having professionals like David Neal. He's a great person for it, right? He would make people's avatars and he would draw them, and it was professional grade, and people would use that as their profile pic, and people loved it. And I have one on my GitHub page. I use from Kovatar, where they make donations to nonprofits. And they'll draw you in your avatar. I use one of them as my profile pic for like a year, and it worked. Still amazing. Bio. That's what I want you to do. So pick a decent image. Bio writing tips. We're gonna learn how to craft a bio that is not only informative but engaging. We go off that based upon our resume as well. It's really good to do that for have a uniform format of everything. You want the same information, the same keywords everywhere, right? And contact information safety, right? A lot of people, they put a lot of their information out here, and you wonder why you get all these weird spam emails. And you're like, okay, well, this is why, right? So that's what we're gonna focus on. Here is my profile. I used to have a lot of fancy things on it, but I have cleaned it up for this current market, right? So as you see, I have a nice black and white. I am smiling because all the other pictures I'm scowling, and I didn't know I scowled so much, so I picked a picture of me smiling. So I do that. I have my name, as I said, Jerome Hardaway, nice and plain. It also goes well with my URL. Right, I have a nice, clean URL image. URL and image goes with me. I have what I like to do. I like to focus on, for me, code. I focus on initiatives to help veterans while learning all I can in code. Right, and I just go through everything in a profile. Now I have my org, location, time zone, time it is in that location. My email right here. Some people mask their email. This is the only email I share on here just for resumes and stuff. That's the only thing that goes there. My website and my LinkedIn. You go to edit profile. You can edit all of these right here directly. You don't have to go anywhere else. And you can also add more links to a social profile right here. I only really use LinkedIn because I focus on work. So LinkedIn is where work happens. So that for me, my two big boos is LinkedIn, GitHub. I talked a little bit on Twitter, but I prefer LinkedIn and GitHub because I just find the crowd's nicer and it's more focused on the things I enjoy talking about, which is the craft of work. All right, so the GitHub profile README is a special profile repository. So you go to your repos, just like how the GitHub.io is a specialized repository. You go right here, it is a profile, GitHub profile README page that you could go to, and essentially creates a README of your work. It's a detailed README. Think of it as a part of, telling your story on your profile, right?
So they create a repo with their username on GitHub and then a readme.md inside of that repo.
Yes, sir. So you would create, I would go through that process. You create a repo with your username. So for me, it's Jerome Hardaway / Jerome Hardaway. That creates a specialized repo for me, a special README, a specialized repository, which is just a README, and it will appear publicly on my GitHub profile.
That's automatic. As long as you create a repo that is a copy of your username,
Yes,
it
and
does
it's
it
automatic.
automatically.
It does that for you. You don't have to figure out or do anything. It's not like GitHub Pages where you have to go in and say on a repo, I want this to be a part of GitHub Pages, right? Because I know that's what you're kind of thinking, like, oh, do I have to go into the settings and choose that? No, you don't have to do that. It just, if you do it this way, it automatically happens. I don't add another picture to my profile README. There's no point in having the way this UX is done, when you add like a banner to your special profile, it doesn't look well because you have a banner on your profile next to your headshot or your profile pic. So it's like, here's this big rectangular banner and here's your profile pic. Like, nowhere does that make sense. Even on LinkedIn, they have the banner above your profile pic and above and behind, right? So I tell people, try to minimize having any images or pictures on your profile README. Now, what I've done a lot of, I used to have a lot of external things from Vercel that would read my repositories. I took a lot of those off because, one, security issues. Two, I don't want it busy. Remember, HR people, they are getting 600 applications each job now, right? I don't know if you've seen it on LinkedIn when they show you how, this job just hit 10 minutes ago, and hey, we already have 435 people have already applied to this job. You're like, how did that happen? You've been open for 10 minutes. Like, did everybody? I was like, do people just have it ready to go now? That's crazy, right?
Just to confirm what you're saying, there was an intern application offer from Hennepin County for our department, and we got 320.
320.
We just needed 2 people.
Yeah, 302, 320.
320 applications.
Yeah, you got 2, and you selected 2 people out of it?
Yeah, we just wanted 2.
So that is actually happening in the market, right? So in this type of market, I want to get my information, the relevant information of what I'm doing, fast as possible to the people that matter, right? So I omit the banners, omit all the fancy stuff. I kept it nice and clean, and with above the fold content, as you see, like the minute they hit Jerome Hardaway, that URL, they already know my technical skills. They know about me. They know about my work, right? They see key projects, right? They don't have to scale down to see all the important stuff about me. They know to see key projects, technical skills about me already. So I already have the keywords because they're skimming, right? I'm thinking like an HR person that has to go through 600 of these. So now the ATS has maybe cut it down from 600 to 120. So now I have 120 of resumes and LinkedIn's and GitHubs to go through. So now I have 120. I'm going to go through here. Keywords. Go through here. And I am going to, here's key projects. Put the key projects up here because I want to make it easy. I want to control the flow of information. That's one thing that we have to, for key projects and pending projects, right? We have to focus on our GitHub. We want to control the flow or the direction where people go. All right, so starting right here, I want to give you all a few minutes to build your profile README. Start with your statement, talk about your background and the things you're passionate about in technology. Share your technical skills. Make sure you add your key projects. I recommend adding your key projects that are A, fleshed out with their READMEs, B, popular and in production, and C, they are, they clear to show your skill set, right? They're relatable to your skills. For instance, if I had READMEs that were popular and showcased the things that was a good showcase, but it was written in .NET, I wouldn't do it because I don't want to get a job in .NET, right? So like if I was like, or if I had a README that was repo that was a README that was in Vue, I have no intention of working in Vue. I prefer Next.js, so I'm going to only show Next.js work, right? Those are the key projects that I would showcase. And then continue. Now this is where, as you see, just like my resume, now I've gotten all the important stuff above the fold, right? Important stuff always goes above the fold. After that, I start talking about, leadership, my goals, and how to connect with me. I always lead with anyone connect with me. Think of that as my CTA. I'm trying to get people that see this to get into my network, right? I want to get them to my LinkedIn. I want to get them to my Twitter. I want them to start emailing me. I want to get these people into my personal funnel, like that I'm sending my resume and stuff out, because that's what you have to think of it. You're sending an informational funnel. Everything is a feeder into your funnel for you to get a job, right? I send my resume out, have my LinkedIn, have my GitHub. It's all a part of my funnel, right? I use the same resume, the same email to push everything into my funnel, so that way I can get the roles that I want. Right? So you all take about 5 minutes, start working on that, at least get your GitHub profile live, and then we will go into your pin repos. We're going to move straight into strategic repository pinning. So the importance of repository pinning for the job search is pretty simple. You want to put the projects that showcase your strengths first. You want to make it easy. Like the whole point of the job search is for you to make it easy for you to be the top candidate. I think that's what people don't really think about the job search. You're not trying to get a job. You're trying to be the obvious choice for the job. You want to be the top candidate. You want to be the person with the top potential. That's what you want. I call it front loading, where like I put so much information out there in front of the user, which is the hiring manager and the technical people, that everything else kind of feels like a formality for them. That's what I want. I want that feeling like from them that I'm like already on the team. That's my job. So I treat it like I've already going through the interview process before them, right? So for jobs that I want, I'm putting the repositories and things of that nature up there that it's already going to help me like win, right? So for instance, remember I did key projects right here in the profile, but on my pin projects I have similar projects that are there's also on my key projects, and I'm showcasing it gives like a little high level overview with these pins, right? They see what's the primary language in them, right? So they know this one's TypeScript. This one was in my last course, things of that nature, like this, and how many stars they have, right? So they're able to go into and start looking into these projects. Now this one, when you type into it, you see that I've been working on it. Everybody's been working on it. Like how many contributors? This is the one that I have my troops contribute to. And I have that README filled out. I have the badges of what it is, which NPM, which version of Node it is, license, contributions, welcome, what is powered by Vercel. I have like what it is, how the README is nice and clear. Every README on my pin repositories is going to be nice and clear, and have showcase how to run it and what's the purpose for it. I'm never going to have ugly README on any project that I'm going to showcase. That is like a no for me, because it's all down here from there. There's a great book on design called Don't Make Me Think, that you should take that type of approach with everything that you do. My job is not to make the person that I want to make money with think about if I'm a good designer. Yeah, of course, it's a easy decision. Yes, pay the guy. That's what you want, right? So that's what I'm doing. I showed them what's under the hood. I'm talking about the architecture, say about what my mission is, how to get started, the prerequisites of how to run this application, how to get up and running, how to start with it, how to use dev container or Docker. Now that it was one thing that I have learned over the course of the past year is like a superpower. People like they love that opportunity to be able to go and use Docker and dev container and not have to download all the other things that you have in your repo to put it on their machine locally. So when they, download the repo and then they're like, they clone your repo and then it's like, oh, in their VS Code, the whole, you want to run it with Docker shows up. They're like, wow, that's awesome. So containerizing your apps, that is something I definitely recommend. It makes it friendly, and they, like I said, they absolutely, especially for juniors, they love seeing that you thought about that. That showcases thinking about the user behind, thinking about the user experience on DevOps, and a more infrastructure thought process. So they eat that up. But I have that showcasing steps where to open, have my contribution guidelines, roadmap, license. They see all these things of how I'm thinking, right? Have this license, I have this roadmap, have how to contribute, have all these things in place so that the user showcases like, okay, this is a project. This is something that he doesn't do for his day job, but this is pretty robust for a project that someone doesn't do on their day job. Then when I talk about it and they're like, I bring up the metrics and the numbers, and I bring up the how many people hit the website and how many views things hit, and all my analytics. So how many I've took a playbook, a page out the front-end master's book of using like the transformations from my images to see like how many times people are hitting the website and things like that based upon the transformations, stuff like that. Because Mark is very big against Google Analytics. So I was like, okay, that's a cool idea. Like go from there. So that's another thing. You can always learn from people you talk to, right? And of course, I want to make sure you look at these technologies right now as a software engineer that's focusing on front end. These right now are the most community popular technologies that are stable, right? Those top three, Next.js, Tailwind, Playwright, those are things that are popular, getting more popular in the industry. That are if people are going to assume that other things as well, that you're adept in other things. It's one of those. It's like how best way to say this. It's like how when Angular first hit, people assumed that you knew React the library because you understood Angular the framework, or that you could understand it, right? Being able to work with something as robust as Next.js, understanding that you're focusing on these tools that are for productivity and E2E, right? Like Playwright is an E2E testing suite. When they see that, they're like, oh, that showcases. That's a code. I try to that's an indicator, a signal to people to like, hey, I am preparing or I am ready for more mature products and projects, right? That is how the user sees that, right? That's how developers see that when they see, technology. Like you have to, think that developers are very communal, right? So if you're in a community and like for instance in the JavaScript community, and someone sees these things, they see Tailwind, they see Next.js, they see Playwright, they're going to assume that you're accustomed to more modern stack. You are focusing on things that is being, that the community is working on or is on fire about as well, right? And of course, TypeScript. I'm not going to lie, I was a big outlier about learning TypeScript, but the harsh reality is that if you're going to do React on any app that's making money out there, 9 times out of 10, they're using TypeScript on the front end, or Angular and use TypeScript. I think Vue, people who use Vue now are also using TypeScript, but I know Angular And React is on the enterprise side. You're definitely using TypeScript. So if you learn JavaScript, the minute you move into a framework, you have to learn TypeScript. That's just, if you want to make money, you got to learn TypeScript. If you want to get a job as a front-end developer and not know TypeScript, you're going to have a very hard journey. You need to go ahead. That's a mandatory skill now. It went from a nice to have in 2017 to a fundamental skill now in 2024. Going back to here, I keep my contributions bar open so people see how much I can contribute, as well as what I've contributed to and all the repos that I'm going over and under, right? So this builds a story of sorts, right? With the pin repositories, they can go and look into more things. When they see, oh, this one has because that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to go and look at a thing that has 111 stars and see what that's about. Or they're going to go and see this thing and they're going to be like, okay, this has TypeScript, it has code on it. What is this about? And then that is how the story, that's how, I control the flow of my story. Like my story is controlling the flow of the legitimacy of the work I do. So I want to showcase, hey, these are the things I've built for veterans. This is what we're doing with Vets Who Code. Come over here, see this code, see this coursework, see the things we're building. Go here. For you, it'll be like, hey, here's the tools and the toys and language I'm building. Here's the products that I have pushed out into the web. Here are the people that are using it. Here's how I'm using it. And you should definitely go check out this code. Let's talk about the importance of the README. README is the first date of your code, right? Before they jump into your code, they're going to look at your README, right? As you saw with the Vets Who Code app, it says what it does, says the technologies that you're doing, lets everyone know, how to run it, everything. Incorporating visual aids. I did not do that with the VWC app, but you saw with the VS Code theme, I had a visual aid right there showing this is how it looks to you. Let's go for it. And I'm going to probably go back and do this now that I've made it into my slides. Clear installation instructions. We showcased that. Usage guidelines. Make sure you that showcase on yours. And your guidelines for contributors. Now, you might not have projects that you want people to contribute to, but you should still have guidelines for contributors. You never know what type of tips you're going to get, right? And that turns your README and your repository into a networking tool. Now that I'm opening it up for contributors and feedback, either through the discussions or through issues or whatever like that, I now have that opportunity to get that feedback or unsolicited feedback to build onto my project and make it better, right? And that's what you want. I mean, if someone can come and take the time to look at your code and be like, hey, you should improve this, by all means, take that feedback as a gift. Right? That's what you want. Oh, here's a free game. Yes, thank you. I'll take it and I'll incorporate it and I'll add it to my code base and add it to my repository and I'll move forward with that. So I want you all to take 5 minutes, identify some great READMEs that you like, and then start thinking about how you're going to copy those to your own README style, right? The awesome README list is by ATS Singers. It's a great README, has a whole list of good READMEs on here. And this is a great resource to look at these, check out some good READMEs. Changelog generator, EasyNav, it showcases all the good rules of great READMEs. So github.com / ATS Singers / awesome -README. Thought everybody enjoy that. Did you do anything impactful for your README? Awesome. Yep. Okay. What about in the chat?
Octavio says, yes, but where do you recommend putting the images for the README?
I recommend at the bottom, just because I want to lead with the how to get the product running first versus the visual aids. So, but the good thing is, if they are looking at your READMEs, you are winning right there. If you are in repos and READMEs, you have passed user 0, you're past user 1, you are now in your past user 2. You are out of your own way. The ATS is giving you the thumbs up. HR is also like saying this is a good candidate. So now you're in the end zone. You're like, okay, the developers are here. I am on what I guess in sports it'd be like third base. You're almost home, right? Even though third base has like 6. It was like, oh, why does this third base has 6 rounds of third base? But you're a lot closer to home than the person who is on first or hasn't got up to bat yet. So that's good. For those of you who don't know what GitHub Pages is, it is also a special repository for GitHub. What you do to build your GitHub page is you create a repository that says your username .github.io. That is how you create the repository that populates this. Now, for those who have never been exposed to it, what it does is it populates and builds an entire website for you. You could do plain HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or you can use Jekyll as a build tool if you want to use like for blogging, things of that nature. In my GitHub.io, my GitHub Pages page, I have everything that I want to, like the sections that I have, my deployment, how I use it, where to navigate, how to contact me, either via Twitter or LinkedIn, preferably LinkedIn. And I have the link right here to go into my portfolio based on this. Now, I still followed rules, some rules that I follow. Like I believe in white space. Had a profile pic. I chose a nice color. I preferred color blue. I added an API. I literally picked the easiest API to add, and that is the weather app API. To let people know what's the weather in my hometown, right? Like that, I didn't write code that. That's just an API usage, right? So then now when you're sitting here like, oh, that he did that, let me go into his code, script.js, and see how his code is looking to do that. Now we have that answer, and we can go forward and like, oh, all right, so he did actually code that. And now that's how I do things, right? Now I have my story. Now, one thing that I wouldn't recommend on a portfolio for a user is having so much, if you're in a job market, having so much like text. I'm different because I have that story that people are really coming to. People usually go to my websites and things of that nature for the marketability of like, oh, I want to learn more about vets code versus I want to see if you're a good employee, right? They go to my LinkedIn and GitHub for that, right? So seeing this is sort of my journey, and I have my work, right? Now this is where I did something that I saw was cool, and like instead of adding a bunch of pages, since all this stuff was live, I just added cards and used icons, and they linked to things, as you see, that pops up at the bottom that are alive out here, right? So people can now see, oh, there's a lot of live content out there for Jerome for his work. Now, if I was to continue to build up on this, I would add user pages or things like that to these. So I have user stories, case studies for each one. Although there'd be some weird case studies for this, like, oh, okay, how does the Business Insider developer's story have a case study? They just wrote an article on me and included me in it. That's it, right? So one thing that you can do for pages, so a lot of people don't tell you, this is one thing that I push on my students now, and that is now that you have your colors, your theme for your design doc, start theming your other projects so that way it's easier for you to build them, and you can turn them like this one. Like I said, this is a project. I was like, oh no, the branch isn't protected. All the rules that I would do are broken, right? This is the project that has a very funny story to it. My kid, I literally picked this project out of the woodwork. I just came from the flu, 2018. I had the flu, and I had to get up, help my kid with the school project he told us at the last minute. So he had to do the research, and I ended up having to code it out because he didn't know what he was doing, and I didn't want to go to the store or a poster board talk about Nashville, where we lived. So we coded this up, and I didn't know that you could do this until I learned this by accident. Like, you can go into your settings and you go into pages, and you can deploy any repo on GitHub now directly into pages. But that's one thing that my troops are now doing. They're now going into the projects, into the repos, and they are now making it live. If I was to go, let's do this real quick. I could just make a new repo, right? New repo. Hello world. Just like how they said. Boom. Choose owner. Testing. Create a public repo. Don't need to do any of this stuff. Just going to go straight into create code space. README's there, so that's cool. Now I'm right here. I can be just, oh, right, perfect. Touch index.html. ls right here. Now here. HTML:5. Bam. Hello world. Gotta love Emmett, right? Commit it up. All right.
I think you gotta put a commit message on line 1.
Update. And commands.
I don't know if you maybe and then close maybe.
Yeah. Boom. Okay, go for that. Yes. But now we're going to go here and find that repo now. 91 repositories. Hello world. The index.html is in there. Settings, pages, GitHub pages, branch, main, save. All right, now let's see what happens. It is still pending. So it's going to take some time to build it out. But once it comes back, we'll definitely show. Yes, sir.
Is there a benefit to doing this GitHub page approach versus hosting it yourself? And would you ever have both for whatever reason?
I like this approach when it comes to modular, making a more modular style of doing my code, right? Like if I have a project that I'm planning out, or like for instance, let's say I'm doing a project on patterns and I want to make the patterns a different project or a different repo. But I also I have the theme. I add that to my repo. I go and have those patterns in there, and I just have each pattern out as a different repo, right? If I'm spacing out my work, this is one process I would do. Or if I have a fully fledged project that I want to have live that has absolutely nothing to do with the code base, and I want to just save it there. Let's say I have a Gatsby app that's totally different, right? Like the Eric app is totally different from this. I don't know why. Right here, it's totally different than this stuff. So let's say I want to do my own URL. I have a different project, the same URL, and I just have with this URL, and I just mask it with another URL and have GitHub be my hosting company for it, or my hosting site. So that's one way. I like to use the GitHub pages as the hosting, especially when front end, as primary hosting tool. You might not. That's fine, but I definitely recommend you use it that way. I also, I use Vercel on everything now. I used to use Gatsby, and the Netify a lot, but now I use now I just Oliver Cell for most of my work. But when it comes to my portfolio stuff, I try to keep everything as contained on GitHub as possible, even showcasing this work like this. So like that's a great opportunity to have a repo that has absolutely nothing to do with your portfolio and host it using GitHub Pages, and then turn around and showcasing that work without having to spin up another hosting site. It's like spinning up a different environment on GitHub.
You can have a data-driven application. You can't connect to an API from here, can you?
Yes, you can. Like I have an API like this right here. It's being done by API. I'm not using. I'm not actually. I don't know the weather back home. I have no idea. I definitely don't know Celsius. I'm an American. I have no idea what Celsius is. So like all that's being pulled directly from the API and is coming from the JavaScript and API key. So that's how. That's one of the things that especially doing front end. I always recommend using the API and Open Weather API is one of the easiest, lowest hanging fruit APIs you can have and throw in a project. So I was like, hey, I'll just take this tiny API, put it right here, using the front end. Now we're going to get into something that's not as code heavy, but still important in your career, which is your LinkedIn, energizing it. LinkedIn, first and foremost, has a lot of resources for those who are, you're either just getting out of college or getting in school for their premiums as well as veterans. I definitely recommend you take advantage of that stuff. And without further ado, we're going to, start there. So I'm going to go ahead and show you live all the parts of the profile. So you have your header. One thing I did that I would do differently here with your header or your banner, I wouldn't have my face there twice like a superhero, but we are here now. It's kind of weird, like, oh, what a narcissist, but it's not like don't hate on me. It's cool, but so you have your banner. Use that banner as a pitch, place to sell what you do. Your profile, always nice, happy profile picture. People don't like people that scowl. I had one, my favorite veteran, Adrian Grimm, he had a profile picture that I asked him, I was like, do you have a picture of you smiling? And he was like, that is me smiling. And I was like, oh boy, we are here for a very long time. So that's one thing. Now you see everywhere that I can edit has a pencil at it. I can go, I can add my language that I prefer, my public profile. You get the option to change your profile URL on LinkedIn to match closer to your name or anything of that nature. I have mine's. Like I said, I'm boring, Jerome Hardaway, keep it professional. That way you don't have to, no one has to second guess, just type in your name. Here, I have my settings, first name, last name, pronouns. Now you can write with AI. You can post that in, press the button. They sit there, they show you option 2, option 3, option 4. I can revert it back to what I had because I like mine better. Shows current positions, education, location, everywhere, everything you want to do. You can also add a custom button, right? You edit your contact info, and you can edit your custom button. Let's say you want it to, like right here, visit my website. You showcase this at your portfolio right here, and it will display on your posts, your messages, and in the search results. Or you can also turn it into a link if you prefer. So that's where this component, I call this like the header space, and you can right here. Now there's a huge debate going on externally about whether you should use the open to work component when it comes to searching on LinkedIn. The data shows yes. Doesn't really matter what how people feel and think. People who the data internally from LinkedIn showcases the people who use open to work get jobs, which means you should be using it. If you're in the market and you're trying to get work, I would never let the opinion of how people might feel like, oh, this feels desperate or something like that externally stop you from getting using a tool that lets people signal that, hey, yo, recruiters, hit me up, right? Especially since there's so much talent out here. You have to be open and let people know that you're open to work. For a time, I had it on myself just so I can ease the stigma for my troops. So I had open to work, even though I absolutely was not looking for anything, and having people ping me. I'm like, nah, I'm just put it on so people won't feel like jerks. And also you can verify who you are with LinkedIn now. So I have this nice little silver verified badge. So in case somebody decides for any reason, I don't know why they don't want to be me, but they want to be me on LinkedIn. Of all places, catfish is Jerome on LinkedIn because that's the place to do it. That is, I can be like, no, look at the badge. That's not me. This is me. Right? You can also add profile sections from here. You have your core, where you add your education, your position, services. You can add a career break for those who have had career breaks. You can add skills. There are also recommended areas and additional areas up here. You can add test scores, patents, honors and awards. I've never seen anyone add a test score on LinkedIn. I would not recommend you adding a test score unless you scored high and you were a Mensa, or something like that. I wouldn't do that. That's kind of weird. But definitely add your volunteer experience, add your publications. If you have patents, add them. That's super cool. I want a patent one day. That's gonna be one that's on my list of things to do because I haven't done it yet. So, let's get a patent. Those are the steps. Make sure you have your button. Like I said, visit your website. And here in the more, this is, once you flesh out your portfolio, your LinkedIn, this is one of my favorite features that I get to do. I get to save my LinkedIn as a PDF. Now, I usually have my troops do this first on LinkedIn, and then they save their as a PDF, and then we go through that PDF and we make their resume from it. And that, if you're keeping up and cleaning up your LinkedIn, that is the cheat code to make your resume. Just go ahead, go to more, get your save as PDF your profile, and start ripping things out of LinkedIn and manicuring them and adding them to your resume. That gives you a very quick head start. Of course, now you get your, the things that are private, your analytics, how many times you've been searched, how many impressions you get in the past 7 days. They'll show you how many profile views. I don't know why people keep looking at my profile. I'm not out there in the market. It's kind of wild. Every week I check this, and every week I'm like, people are actually listening to what I'm saying. So I just guess I need to talk to people, right? You have your resources, your network, as well as saved items. Show all for resources, your network, personal demographic information, activity, and saved items that you would have, where you can keep track of jobs, searches, and articles. Definitely recommend if you're on a job hunt, do that. That helps you store with your data on the LinkedIn side. Now you have your about. As you see, my about is about 2 paragraphs. Right, I always try to keep it within 2 paragraphs, but I also want to try to make it engaging. Right, this is a funnel, a part of your funnel for depth. This is when someone gets here on LinkedIn, same way when someone gets on GitHub, they're going to be taking their time. So this is a HR manager has said that you're a good fit resource. So you need to put in more time that you would put in for your resume, because your resume, you're really trying to fight just the ATS, right? Really, your adversaries on the resume is Workday, right? Where when you're here, the person that you're thinking about is the developer team. You want to showcase, you want to go deep, more in depth with your work on here. Maybe another hiring manager, just like after you've gotten a good look, or an engineering manager, right? So this is where you start showcasing all of more versions, more of you, more of your personality. I have my top skills right here. I think they picked my top skills, and it's super cool that they LinkedIn decided that I was good enough at RAG. I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. Like, I've used RAG, like I've done like 2 RAG agent apps in my career, so like that's kind of wild. But it's like, hey, yo, you've done enough. This is cool. Top skills, Azure AI services. I do use that. Git, I use it every day. LLM embeddings, use that every day for the past 2 years, trying to learn more of that. Python is pretty good. It showcases those skills, and they show your top skills, your endorsements, and where you use those. Like where I've used Git, and where I've used Azure's AI services, and where I use LLM embeddings, right? And I think that's where, because of my certifications, when we talked about certifications earlier, because I did those courses and those I did LLM embeddings, therefore it added it as part of my skills.
I see that you wrote like you're about me, I think in like the third person as opposed to like first person. Do you generally recommend, or do you have like a reason why you don't do it in the first person?
I tend to always write things in the third person. I don't have a reason for that. Especially when you're trying to, it just feels easier to sell yourself when you're writing in the third person versus in the first person. Where you're like, yo, I'm that man, I'm that guy, I'm him, right? Like 2 fingers in the air, like, you just won Super Bowl, whatever number it is now, right? That, feels kind of weird. But when you're like putting in the third person, it feels a little more, you put some distance between that, less ego, more professional, right? You can think, and it's a great exercise. It helps people frame it. Now, featured. This is where you want your projects, right? This featured component is very underutilized, but is very important. And, even if you're even if you're new, you should still be putting things in your feature. You need to be, if you don't have things in your feature that you want, that you can put in here, you need to be building things in your feature, right? This shows your story, right? This is like your brag document, right? Like this part right here, it lets people know that, oh no, this person's doing things. They're building things, and this is what you want. You want to be able to showcase that, even if you're not the person, even if you're not trying to be. I've been called a micro influencer. I don't know the term. I'm just a dude. Even if you're not trying to be more out there and like do more public work, even your projects, they should still be featured. Right, you should. Any open source work should definitely be featured. If you're part of a user group and you lead that user group, which we, especially on junior levels, we need more people on entry levels and stuff participating in these user groups, so people can feed into these and grow their communities. Don't hesitate. Like, put that in your feature. Activity, it shows what you write. As you see, all I write about is AI and junior engineers. And, today was a very special tearjerker day for me. Like, I'm an old man. I've been helping people get jobs for 10 years. And, I'm a little emotional about it. Don't look at me. I'm only allowed to cry once a year. So my tears are all cried up. And you get to just check all your activity. Let's go back. Now, your experience. Now, this is something that I've been very serious on working on, focusing on. I've been noticing people when it comes to their experience, they put their job and they put their skills, and that's it. But they do not put like what they've actually been working on. So what I've started doing is, like, one of the things for my performance reviews is I started taking that out of my performance reviews and putting that and tailoring it for my experience. As you see here, you see that I have worked in infrastructure code. I've used Terraform, and I've used GitHub Actions, and I've used Azure AI domain. I've learned Azure AI domain. I've been using GitHub, and I'm doing data engineering, DevOps, and things like that. I put what I've done in the job right here. But usually people do, they just say, oh, software engineer, and then they just put whatever they have in here. Like, oh, what's the job description of a software engineer, and done. Like, no, put exactly what you've been doing at the job and evolve it over time, right? Every quarter, every time you get done with something, I have a rule where every time our stock divested in Microsoft, I update my LinkedIn, I update my resume, I update my GitHub, I go through everything, I audit every component every quarter, right? Because that is what you need to be doing. You have to be serious about taking control of your career. You have to audit. I audit my skills in comparison to the company I'm at, in comparison to the companies I want to be at, right? Like right now, there's a lot more computer science interviewing going on in the market. So guess what? Now I'm doing more elite code. 10 years, I've never needed elite code. But I know that even at the top of the game, they're asking for computer science fundamentals. I don't want to be, if I do it informational, I want to be ready. I want to stay ready so I don't have to get ready, right? Like, and you know, some people call it paranoia. I know, I came into tech from the Great Recession. And since then, I've always been a kind of aggressive type when it comes to my career and controlling that narrative. But in this current market, which is kind of like a inside out recession when you think of it, like from if $87,000 on up, it's essentially a recession. But if you're making $50,000 and below, it's a flush market. You have to start thinking about your career more critically and being more aggressive and in having more tightening the reels on your career a lot more, and which is what I really want people to start. I'm hoping people start doing, right? Now, I don't have one for everything because some things are just so ambiguous, but I have, even my LinkedIn Learning, I have what is done. This is a great opportunity where you use AI as well. Like if you want to do prompt engineering, go take the things that you're doing, put it in there and be like, hey, can you clean this up, summarize this? I am such a big fan of Grammarly these days. Like, it makes me sound like I'm not a hillbilly from Memphis. This is awesome. Like, I absolutely love it. But, I do the front-end masters, talk about what I've done at front-end masters. I'm explicit. I say with the training, the things I do that with all of my experiences. I have, as you see, I have paragraphs. Every single one. I will go back and I went back and I literally went all the way to my first job, Air Force. And I was like, let me go and put exactly what I did in the Air Force. I went and got EPRs. I went into a box in my attic and got old EPRs that are absolutely useless right now, beyond proving that, hey, I did some wild stuff. And there's one EPR that shows I didn't get a medal in Iraq one time because we were they caught us playing games with the Iraqi kids instead of not connecting with them. And so I have a literal bullet on, hey, they refused to give me a medal because I was being nice in Iraq. It's a very weird story that is over whiskey. But yeah, I have that right here. I have everything that I have right here for every job, showcase what I did, showcase my value. I'm trying to always add value. I want to make sure people know I have, I'm adding value to every role that I'm at. Even with the contract stuff I do, the front-end masters, I'm adding value. Only thing I haven't done there so far is the contract for my record because I don't know exactly how I do so much stuff. I don't know where I'm adding value at yet. I can't put it concretely, but that's how I do it. I put my education. Now, this is one place I did put my education at, but I don't put it on my resume, and I do get asked that question. But as you see, it's criminal justice. I don't really get asked a lot of questions about that unless I go government, because of the fact that, I have to give them my, they want to get your transcriptions and things like that. They want to get verification of your, you went to college. However, I don't, you don't have to put it on there, but if you do, that is fine. My degree is useless. Like I said, I use it to, deal with my kids. had a new package of dog biscuits arrive. And what you've been seeing me check my phone, I've been making sure that the children know don't overfeed the dogs on treats, because that's the problem that I have as a dad these days, which is a good problem. Certifications. Now, this is what we talked about how the importance of certifications earlier. One thing that I will also showcase, now, not all certifications are equal. Like we said, CompTIA doesn't have the same weight as going through the Microsoft Azure one or the AWS one when you go with that. Same way as I don't feel like the LinkedIn certifications have the exact same weight as those when it comes to the job interview. However, I do feel like the LinkedIn certifications have more weight when it comes to getting rankings in the searches. I have been noticing what I've been calling LEO, which is LinkedIn engine optimization, treating it like its own browser. That the more stuff that you do that is within the ecosystem of LinkedIn, the higher you rank. So if you're in the job market and you're going through LinkedIn Learning, get those certifications, add them to your LinkedIn, and now you're going to start ranking higher for these keywords. And as we saw, they automatically add the keywords or the skills you're supposed to be getting to your top skills, and they feature them. Right? So because I did the AI 900 fundamentals prep course, and I got the certification, it automatically added LL embeddings to my skill set, even though there's no way they can verify that I've worked with LL embeddings. But because I've done 4 different courses that involve that, they're like, oh, yeah, you got the certs. LL embeddings is a skill of his now, right? Same way as these. Well, they added web, like when lynda.com. I probably need to get rid of these because this is before LinkedIn Learning was Lynda. Like, this is so old school. But they added, when you come here, right, they added skills of web design directly to my LinkedIn. So that's my opinion on these types of certifications when you go through LinkedIn Learning. I do feel like LinkedIn Learning is a great resource. They've gotten so much better, and with the whole code spaces and artificial intelligence, if you all have not checked it out, it's really, really good now. But the only advantage it has, I see, is LEO. When it comes to the front end, I still come here. Like, I go to different places. Like, if I was to go to PHP, I go one place. If I go to front end, I go one place. I go, if I just want to, hack the system, I go to LinkedIn. Projects. I have one project up here, was Vetsu Code, because I had so many other things that I was moving from projects. I haven't finished this for myself yet, but this is where you put your most robust projects at. As you see, I have the projects on Vetsu Code. I have all the skills. I have the web app. Pops up right here in a window. I go there. I go previous, web dev guide. I can view it right here. People see it, 233 stars. I didn't even write this. My name is not on this at all. This is one of my troops. I think one of them added it, and I got added on my LinkedIn, which is super cool because, as you see, I can add contributors to this. So I think someone added me as a contributor, and that's how it ended up on my LinkedIn. So you can definitely add projects and things to your LinkedIn, and also add contributors as part of your skill set. Volunteering, definitely volunteer. Keep volunteer not only just for your job, but also externally. Like, you'll see how great, like, you can definitely help with your skill set. I volunteer all the time, and it really helps me build my network. For those of you who are looking for networks, building your network through volunteering is one of the core things. Building your network through LinkedIn is a core thing as well. So always volunteer. Skills section right here. It showcases the skills, and it showcases the endorsements of, like, each skill, right? Responsible AI, where I use it, and my endorsements from it. Data processing, where I use it, the endorsement. You can show, right now, I have 58 skills on here, and not only does it showcase where I use this skill at, it also showcases, like, the endorsements based upon it. So that is another thing you do. Like, this is one of those things where you should get your comrades and your friends. Like, okay, let me endorse you for this, especially if it's something that you really want to get a job for. You want that higher ranking, or you want to get multiple endorsements for that. So keep doing that and get these endorsements. Ironically, I have 8 endorsements for WordPress. I think I haven't used WordPress in like 5 years. It's kind of weird. And this part that is this part's very neglected. Very important, but very neglected at the same time. Your recommendations. Get people, get mentors, get colleagues, get team members, get people who you work with to recommend you on LinkedIn. You'd be amazed how many people come here and you're like, oh, these people are saying good. Like, this person said something good about you on LinkedIn, and I know this person in real life, so I want to, talk to you more. This, people see this and they're like, okay, this helps build that story of you, right? Which we talked about earlier, the total person concept. You want these recommendations as they help tell that story more clear of like what you are, what you do, the things that, you're passionate about, how it is working with you. And give recommendations. And don't wait to get to the point of recommending of where you ask somebody like, oh yeah, I'll give you one too. Don't do that. Of course, we talked about that on resumes, honor and awards. Like I said, what I did for my resume, I cleaned up my LinkedIn first, and then I profiled, and then I took my honors and awards, put it on my resume. But put your honors and awards. Now, with honors and awards on LinkedIn, I treat it differently. The honors awards on my resume, I put anything community, anything that like looks good for social impact, all that stuff on my LinkedIn as opposed to on my resume, because on LinkedIn it looks good, showcase that you're doing good in community. That's if you notice, every company has like a social impact angle. So seeing that you're participating in those social impact angles, that helps when it comes to, jobs. That helps when it comes to like, oh, are you a team player? Right? That's what they want to know. That's what it shows. Right? So when I'm here, I'm showing, oh yeah, I'm a member of these communities. I've been in Twilio, I've been in Google, I've been in GitHub, I've been a member of these communities. I've been there. I've been considered a high-level member in there, and I'm doing work in there. I was asked to join the Forbes Black community where, oh, you're doing great things for minorities and communities. Please help. Like, sure, cool. That's what, you always want to showcase. Languages, and of course, interest. Interest doesn't have a lot of impact. You can go ahead and forgo that. I pick interest just because it helps flesh it out more, but it showcases the voices you listen to, Microsoft, or the companies, the groups you're in, newsletters, schools. Now, what really helps with this that you can leverage is when you're on the networking side. You go to somebody's interest and you see what they're interested in, and that's where you start a conversation. Like, let's say, for instance, I'm going to a meetup, and I know Mark's going to be at that meetup, right? I'm going to go to Mark's LinkedIn, look at his interests, and then when I see Mark, I'm not going to talk to Mark about code at all for the first 15 minutes. I'm going to talk to Mark about stuff that I've seen in interest that's absolutely nothing to do with code that I either picked up from his LinkedIn or picked up from his Twitter. I was to meet Mark in real life for the first 15, 20 minutes, I would be asking him about gymnastics and what has inspired him to start so late in life to do this sport. And, I would let him make me feel bad about, being almost 40 and he's almost 40, but he's doing backflips and I'm sitting here getting out of breath chasing a 2-year-old, right? That is what I would do before I transition into talking about code and showcasing how knowledgeable I am at code and building that professional repertoire. Now that I've humanized myself, because that's what part of networking is. We're going to get more into that, where we're humanizing ourselves. There we're getting into the professional component. I've leveraged interest to be able to, see who we what do we have interested with each other. And then finally, causes, right? You put the causes that you care about. They have all the causes linked, and you can just click one or 3, as I did. But there's a lot of AI components on here as well. As you saw earlier, I come here. If I don't like it, I can have LinkedIn, rate it. I can revert it because I don't like that. I can show the skills I have right here. And I can do that throughout the entire scope of this app. If you go here to LinkedIn Premium Features, it shows you the writing assistant, you can do the custom button, AI message drafts, you get top choice jobs. All these things are now coming in within LinkedIn. So that you should definitely, if you get the opportunity to use the LinkedIn Premium, you should definitely go for it, right? So I highly recommend LinkedIn Premium to anyone right now, especially in this tight market. Leverage everything, right? There's no such thing as anything off limits, right? So we've talked about a profile picture. We talked about compelling professional headline, engaging about summary, utilize the feature section, detailed descriptions and experience, education and specialized trainings, the RE certifications, regularly updated skills and endorsements, request and showcase recommendations, accomplishments, and reflecting your professional interests. And we also talked about the AI features on LinkedIn with this insights. They have LinkedIn Learning has a job coach now, and it's personalized career guidance based upon the things you're doing on LinkedIn. So, networking strategy in the current market. What I am seeing, particularly on the junior side, is people are just, it happened to me twice today during this workshop. They are saying hello, they're pitching themselves, they're like, hire me or give me a referral. And that's all in the same conversation. I don't know who you are. I have no idea how we met. I don't know how you got this email. I have no information about you other than the information you've given me and what you told me to do. That is not networking. That is stalking and pitching. That is what you do not want to do, because now you've just ended up on my block list, and then I'm going to tell the world about you on Front End Masters. Like, you don't want to do that, right? So how you do this, right? First, we have to acknowledge the facts about the focus of networking. You have to shift your focus. Networking is not an end game. It's a long game. It is about consistently showcasing, sharing your value mutually with your community and the people that you are working with, right? Junior developers, for those on the ones and twos, your job as a junior developer is to showcase hard skill value. So your focus when you're trying to network is you should be getting a feedback loop centered on your projects or products, right? That works for juniors, that works for mids, that works for seniors, everyone. I have one of my favorite people, he's a director of engineering at Hilton. He built a Chrome plugin for dyslexia. And, while he was laid off, and he ended up getting more job hires off of that than anything else. And you think about it, this is a pretty senior person, but he solved a problem that was important to people, right? So that's what you want. You want to build a product, build a project, get feedback, even if it's in the discussions and things. And then you want to iterate on that. Now, the best story I have for that is James Regan, who he would come to me, ask for my advice in LinkedIn. I'd give him my advice, and then he would do it, and then he'd be like, ask for more advice. And I was like, okay, this person has built a rapport of, trust of, hey, you're actually going to do the thing I tell you to do, which makes me not feel like I'm wasting my time with you. Right? So yes, I will mentor you, even though my plate is full, even though I have 4 kids, 3 dogs, and a wife, even though I have a job and I have a bunch of troops. Yes, I will also talk and mentor you, because you're showcasing me that you value my time and my expertise, and you're going to execute. I'm one of those people. I love people that execute. Right? And I'm probably not the only person that likes a person that if I tell them to do something, they go and do it. And I'm like, all right, what else you got? Right? People love that. Oh, wow, you did what I said, and you actually did what I said instead of just wasted 20 minutes of my life. That's awesome. Of course, I'm going to have like more time with you, especially in this modern age. You'd be amazed how many people want to pick your brain, but they don't want to do the thing that, they want to do because, networking, getting this job in tech it's work, right? It looks a lot like work and not, just being able to just, smooth your way into roles, right? So this is what you should do as a junior. You should be building a feedback loop based on your projects, build and showcase those projects, receive feedback, iterate based on the feedback, keep people updated, even if it's just live on LinkedIn so people can see it. And then, always, you can make it even more personal. Like if I'm on LinkedIn, I get feedback from somebody, I'm like, this person, I'll be like, X person gave me feedback on how to improve this, and he gave me these changes, and then I implemented them. I want to thank you for spending your time and do this, right? People love gratitude, right? Everybody loves being thanked. I have yet to meet one person that's like, oh no, don't thank me, right? Veterans, they say that, but we all actually do like being thanked for our service. It's just like, the right thing to say is don't thank me for my service. I work for a living, like I volunteered, but we're all like, yes, somebody recognized that crap was crazy, right? So like, don't let us lie to y'all on the news, but keep it up. So mid and seniors. Now this is where you fit in, right? Like it's different. What I see, the number one problem, especially as you get higher in your career, you stop communicating and networking less because you get complacent. In the military, we have a term: complacency kills. It kills in real life, in the military terms, kills careers, right? You're sitting there being complacent with your career, and then you get laid off and you're like, holy crap, what am I supposed to do? Because you have not been out there drilling the skills that pay the bills. You haven't been making new connections. You haven't been making internal connections. You come in, you do your 8 hours, you learn just-in-time skills for whatever project you're building, and you go home, you plop in front of the TV, you do nothing. So that is, when it comes out, it hurts you, right? First thing you should do, whether you're looking for a job now or you're not looking for a job, is you should start looking and leveraging your existing connections. To this day, once a week, I talk to two people at least two different people that I haven't talked to within like a year. I'm making my point to go through my LinkedIn on Sunday and reach out on Monday to two people I have not spoken to in at least a year. I've been doing that for 5 years now. You can do that. That's a very small ask for yourself to keep your network fresh. Go talk to somebody, send a LinkedIn message for someone you haven't spoken to at least a year that's professional, and just say, hey, I was thinking about you. I want to catch up sometime and see what you're working on, and share war stories. It's very easy, very small ask. You're talking, you're keeping that network, you keep your network fresh, right? That's the first step that you need to be doing. Reach out to the programmers, UX designers, the talent that you already know, right? They're like, when they're asking, hey, what are you doing for work? How it is at your place? My place is, I don't know, they're kind of shaky. I might be looking for something new. Hey, yo, man, we got these new roles. If you get your resume and everything going, I can refer you. Like, oh snap, now I have a referral that I wasn't even looking for because I just talked to my network. Right? I just talked to people I already knew. You can transition into that product-based networking format. For me, it builds a way of trust, right? I like product-focused feedback loop as my networking because it doesn't feel as intrusive and just sliding into DMs and asking people for their time just because, right? And I think that's what that's helped me. I have a product. I want to improve it. Can I ask for your feedback for it? Thank you for your feedback. I'm going to take that feedback and iterate on it. Now that I have that feedback and I'm going to iterate on it, I'm going to talk to you again. Next thing you know, 3, 4, 5 conversations at the end. We're talking about can we get on a call sometime? Now we get on the call. Hey, I'd love to buy you coffee around this call so we can dive deeper. I'm networking with this person, especially we're over Zoom. I've sent a Starbucks gift card or a DoorDash card. They have DoorDash Starbucks to their house because Starbucks is on DoorDash. Or I think you all have Kabaru coffee down here. Caribou, yeah, something like that. Y'all can DoorDash that. Uber Eats it, their coffee of choice. We go from there. Now we're on the Zoom. We're talking. I'm showing them projects, showing them code-based stuff that I can do, and they're like, okay, now I'm building that rapport. I'm building that network. I'm pouring into it. What you have to realize, the best time to start that is yesterday. The second best time is today. Networking is not a short person game. And I think that's one of the things why people are so bad at it right now. They want that instant feedback loop. They don't understand that it takes years to get to the point where you get a network of substance, right? You get a network of, influence. That's what, when we think of influence now, we think of followers and likes, and then we convert those followers and likes into marketing. That's not what influence is. Influence is, hey, I can call this person. This person can help me get my foot in the door into this role while everybody else is hurting, right? There's a group that I talk to, and one of the things that those people that have they have the influence in the network, so they talk about is the survivor's guilt that they're having in the community, because they know intrinsically, regardless of what's going to happen, they're going to be kind of okay because they know that their network is secure. They know that they have options and stuff like that, but they feel bad for the people that don't. And they're like, what do I tell the people that, don't want to do these things that I've done, or how do I help them? Right? I mean, that's one of the things that, we're always talking about. How do I help people who, might not want to do this type of work? And the only thing we can do is by showcasing, the lack of stress that it comes to. Like, yes, it sounds a lot like work. Oh, I'm got to spend Sunday looking through my LinkedIn like a weirdo and, to email 2 people that I haven't spoken to in a year. You don't know what those people, what opportunities those people are giving, or, what conversations you're missing, or heaven forbid, if those people are still around. You might have actually liked those people and you don't even know if they're still around anymore. So you need to, go through your network, talk to people. With mid-senior, your first step, emphasizing the people that you already know, right? Start building those, rebuilding those relationships, your rapport. Focus on your established skill set, right? There are people who feel like you're pretty good at your job, right? Start with that, right? Start with those people, and then move forward from there, right? You want to make it expansive, but you want in marketing and sales, they call it your core 100. You want your core 100, the people that are going to support you no matter what you do, and you want to build in your network your core 100, right? That is your primary focus when networking. You're going to have 5,000, 6,000 people, but what you really need is a core 100 in your network that are going to help your career no matter what. Add value consistently. Right? That is something that people do not understand about networking. I am trying to always add value to the people I work with. I don't want to network with. I want when I have a W, it's all of our win, right? When you have a W, it's all of our W. I'm celebrating your win. Especially if I make sure I'm around people where the wins are ethical, and I have no problem celebrating those W's, right? And I want the exact same thing for me. So that's where you want to add value. I'm the biggest cheerleader. Front-end mass is just something cool. I'm like, yes. Even if they don't share my articles or my workshops, I'm sitting there sharing other people's stuff. I nagged Mark on Cody Lindley's front-end handbook for 2 years before they dropped a new one, because I wanted one so bad, because I loved that resource, right? Not I want to take over that. No, I want that resource, because that's how good it is. I have never met Cody Lindley. I don't know. I couldn't pick him out of a lineup, but I love that resource, and I'm like, no, I want more of that. My troops want that. I want that. We need that out here in these streets. So they just dropped it about a month ago. I've read it front to back. I love playbooks. I hope they do more of them. I love the playbook style, but you want to add value. Like, oh yes, but this relationship, I'm sharing about this relationship all the time, right? But that's what you want to do. You want to make it reciprocal. You don't want it to flow one direction. Whereas a lot of people, that's how they they expect networking and mentorship to do, is to flow just towards them. But instead of, it's it's like the yin yang symbol. It's circular. It's cyclical. You're always flowing into each other, flowing and pouring. So add your value consistently. Product feedback loop for junior developers. Junior developers, you should be building. For every time you send a resume, you should be building 3 features or doing 3 commits, right? 4 commits. I see too many engineers, especially right now, we're seeing the Twitterification of LinkedIn, as I like to call it, where the juniors are coming on LinkedIn trying to be loud and snarky for attention. And it's like, all you're doing is annoying the old people on LinkedIn. Do something to show value. Ask us about a product that you're building or a project and ask us for your feedback, because all you're going to do is you're going to get muted or disconnected from on LinkedIn. There's no need to be, you don't need to bring the Twitter snarkiness over to LinkedIn. Keep the Twitter snarkiness over there. Like, that's why there's a separation of concerns. We don't want that over here. We're old in our rocking chair, get off our lawn unless you're doing value, right? Like, that's where we're at, right? I have 2 troops that, 2 prospective troops, and I'm like, I want to counsel them, as we used to say in the military. I want to counsel them, like, please stop being snarky on LinkedIn. All you're doing is having the people that think about giving you jobs not want to give you jobs, just making all the people not want to talk to you. Please stop that. Add value. Please do that. So you're a junior, that's what you should be focused on. Seniors, mid to seniors, leverage those existing connections. I cannot hesitate. Today, just pick one person. Don't DM them the minute you see them. Like, of course, just go, you pick the person. Tomorrow's a good day. If you don't do it tomorrow, wait till Monday. Don't DM people on Friday like a monster on LinkedIn, right? That's the only thing worse than that is emailing someone at work about something on a Friday right before 4:30 p.m. Don't do that. Wait till Monday. DM the person. I say you want to catch up. See if they have any time. Do that. But don't start going through your Rolodex and network and start building relationships. I'm also on LinkedIn. Hit me up on LinkedIn if you have a chance. Don't hesitate to connect with me. I love talking to front-end masters troops all over the globe. I've done it from India, China, Taiwan, anywhere that there's a front-end masters person. I talk to them, and I love doing one-on-ones with y'all. Y'all are like my favorite people, because I have 10 of all of the coursework I've seen. I like the front-end masters group because they tend to be a lot more serious when it comes to I want you to tell me the things that I need to do right now that I can be actionable. And I like that. I like people that want what are the actionable things that I can do today? So I like talking to that crew. So networking is more than just connections. Trust and credibility. We've talked about how do you build trust. You build trust by executing on what people tell you to do, right? That's the simplest way of build trust. My wife, she's going to trust me when when I'm on my video game and my wife asks me to take out the trash, she's going to trust me to take out the trash. I'll say, okay, I'll take out the trash while I'm playing because I've taken out the trash before. Now, whenever I'm playing my video game, I've never taken out the trash when she sees me on my Xbox. She's not going to trust me, and she's going to be like, nah, I'm going to get on your nerves so you get off those sticks and take out the trash, right? That's how the game is played. But if she knows that I'm like, all right, so when I get done with this match on Tekken, I got to beat this dude real fast, and then I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to take out the trash. Okay, and I do that. There you go. Trust established, right? I made that small deposit into the trust safety bank. That like they say, it's like a bank. You can do one. You have small deposits. You mess up. You're taking out of the bank, but you always end up taking more out the bank than this. So remember, doing those small deposit of trust with people that you're trying to build connections with. That's how you do it. Credibility. Focus on building real work. Showcasing people how that you care publicly about the things they're doing. That's how you build credibility, right? It's the secret sauce. Someone pours into you, that you execute on them, You let people know, hey, this person told me how to do this. It showed a better result. I want to appreciate it. That builds your trust, that builds your credibility. So consistently showcase work, seek feedback, implement on that feedback, keeping your word, and you'll build in over time a very strong professional reputation that's going to follow you, and something you'll be able to lean on when you need to. Like I said, focus on adding value and meaningful connections. Like I said, you are not looking for 10,000. You're looking for 100 people that whatever whatever mission you're going to go on in life, they're going to support. I usually don't include this section because, especially the last 3 years, because frankly, if you did everything else I told you the right way, you usually wouldn't even need this section. But the market has changed where even people like me who have crazy career, metrics of being, all over the place are still having to do the code challenge, where they're not valuing just the work you've done. So we have to now talk about this technical interview preparation and how to do it. How do we plan it out when it comes to a job, a particular job, right? And now I'm going to go over stuff that not only the statistical data shows that to code, but the data has shown for me this year on my own journey of what works. First step, you have to understand the interview process. So we know you got the resume went to ATS said good, you get to the HR, and now we go from the HR and we are able to okay, you're going to interview. So how's that interview go? Your HR calls you. In today's market, HR is going to call you. It's going to be recorded. They are going to be using artificial intelligence on this recording. So this is why you need to practice every single layer of interviewing. They are going to be doing sentiment analysis on this recording. I can't stress that enough. There will be sentiment analysis done on this recording. That's what this software does. It showcases if you're based on your uhs and how uncertain the inflections in your voice, things like that. This is what this software is designed to do. So that first phone call you have, that is you're live right there. That's not, you can't just foobar your way through that. This is live. So after that, if you pass that, usually in order to keep from bias happening, the first interview is going to be a code challenge. That is what happens. So that way you cannot use rapport relationships. It's going to be a code challenge. And because of the way the technology is now, it's going to be on Code Signal, HackerRank, LeetCode, even though as a programmer that's worked at, in enterprise tech now, I have yet to see a problem that translates well from LeetCode or HackerRank into real world coding. That is still going to be the thing. Now, we're saying this, why is this going to be in these, is because with IDEs, with AI, all these tools, Copilot, it is a lot, people can build, it's like back in 2015 when Rails was really big. People can build robust tools and robust applications with minimal processing and minimal experience, right? So it's the same thing with now in the era of AI. I can give you a code challenge, but if I, didn't really care about the code challenge, just pull something off the internet, definitely ChatGPT definitely knows that, or Copilot knows it, etc. So now I have to put you in these environments that aren't realistic. They don't have linters, don't have access to the internet, things of that nature, in order for you to actually, code, right? To see if you can truly code. I've had two of them. One, it was much more difficult, and then the other one, it was much easier, with the type of tools. So I was like, so some of them are going higher in skill set, some of them are going lower in skill set, based upon the fact that, guess what? The nature of how you code in real life is so far different from the nature that you code on these. So, but you still have to prepare for the higher levels. That's what I recommend. So now you do that, then you get your loops or your other versions of now you're talking to the dev team. You're talking to 1, 2, 3. They're sometimes flying you out. to talk to people on the developer team. So that way you're now having to ask these questions IRL, but there's also bias and stuff. Because once the developers get in or they start hearing your name and stuff of that nature, they're like, oh, especially me, I had this problem with one where that's when I could tell the bias was starting to come in, and I'm like, okay, this part isn't going to be as good for my data because I'm not going to be able to use it because I know that these people know who I am now. Like HR didn't know who I was, but the coders knew who I was, at least one. And they were like, oh, he's so cool, yada, yada, yada. And they started Googling me and stuff. I'm like, oh, no. Like, because, like every self-centered jerk, I have Google updates whenever people are Googling me like crazy, right? What's happening in these streets. So I knew that the data wasn't going to be as clean for that, but I still got that offer, and I was like, okay, I know that right up until this point, the data wasn't clean. So that's where bias starts. Once the developers start getting into play, particularly when it comes to networking and things, that's when bias can get into play. Now, it can get into play earlier, but for me, bias didn't really get into play until after the human software engineers got into it, right? So that can be taken as positive or negative. But after that loop, after that you get a go, no go, and you start with this is the offer. I always send the first offer back. You always negotiate the offer, and you don't just have to negotiate money. You negotiate the budget for learning, right? How many of you have negotiated, hey, guess what? Can you pay for my front-end masters? I've done that. Can you pay for the tickets for a conference once a year? Can you do that? All these other things that are on the table beyond just the salary. Like, you know what? Just not being able to spend the money on things that I would spend money on to be good at my job is just as important as me having the money itself, right? So, and, being able to pick my resource. So that's the interview process, right? You get ATS, HR, that phone call, that's where the AI starts getting a component. Then you get the code challenge, and then the code challenge. Now, one thing I will tell you, with the code challenge, they're not just testing if you can code. They are testing how you communicate while you're coding, and if you understand the performance of your code. Now, that's why we have to start getting back into our CS fundamentals, because there is a lot of big O notation asked when in today's current coding questions. Not just what is the big O, how do you identify the big O, etc. Just they want to know that you're writing performant code now.
Just to add to that, our computer science and interview prep learning path has most of our computer science and algorithm courses. So it starts out with a complete intro to computer science, and then has a couple intermediate and advanced algorithm courses and some practical algorithm challenges.
Awesome. So you guys heard that? Front-end Masters has a computer science path that you can get on to help shore up those skills. You're definitely going to need them in this current market. Practice coding challenge, go on Leak Code. Exorcism IO is also one. That's actually my favorite. I like being on Exorcism IO and just practicing the stuff in the terminal and my own text editor. But you kind of, in this era, got to get on a browser and use one of those browser-based tools, unfortunately, because, that's, you got a training environment that you're going to be in. In the military, we call it train how you fight. Civilian side, I call it train how you work. You have to train in the environments that you're going to be in. And that's the environment you're going to be in on a code challenge. So you need to get comfortable with that. And I recommend you start talking out loud when you're doing your code challenge. So you're figuring it out. And making notes. First thing I do is I make notes about what everything the person says and comments. And then I start working on my code, and I start talking out loud about this is all the things I do to do. And these are all the problems. And I'm going to now hard coding in. Now I'm going to make this code a little more flexible, a little more elegant. Now I'm going to think about, is this performing enough? Let me see. How would I count this performance? Let me see. Let me do these steps, right? That's how I go through the process of code challenges now. Most importantly, develop a study plan. I am the biggest stay ready, so you know how to get ready fan. I have a study plan I have a study plan for every quarter of my life. I prepare for that plan, and that's what I focus on. That's the important thing. I spend 90 minutes, that's the apex of deep learning that you could get with anything. Like you do 90 minutes of deep learning or deep work. Cal Newport, love his books. He is like my idol. Everything he does, I'm like, I literally mark, well, okay, 90 minutes is the apex of time that I can do before I need a break. So I spend 90 minutes on deep work on a subject every day, and that gives you compound interest of those subjects. So if I'm prepping for code for this, I'm developing my plan on Sunday, 90 minutes. Now I'm executing Monday through Friday on that plan, 90 minutes a day. And that 90 minutes adds up. The 90 minutes of first 90 minutes is going to suck, but by the time you get to the 10th 90 minutes, you're a pro, right? You've learned a new language probably, and you've learned how to do all these algorithms, right? So that's what we have to do. And build projects that also incorporate these type of things, right? One of the things we talk about building projects is we don't talk about what are we trying to learn with the project. Like I've had that question. We talked about the JavaScript calculator. The job of it is to teach you the module pattern, but people don't know that the job of the JavaScript calculator is to teach you the module pattern. What the to-do app is supposed to teach you is not only how to make CRUD applications, but also supposed to teach you LIFO and FIFO, which is last in, first out, first in, first out. Right? Those are the principles that you start learning with these, but people don't know. They don't think that those are the computer science principles that you're supposed to learn, that you're supposed to be picking up when you're doing those small projects. People don't understand that. They don't pick up on that. They're just like, oh, let's just do this stuff, right? And system design. If you're a mid-senior, this is what's most important. You having to understand a system design, a design doc, how to put all the pieces together, right? Like as a junior, you're like, hey, I'm going to go to GitHub, start coding. I'm going to use Next.js, and then I'm going to use Vercel. I'm done. Bow, like Bob's your uncle. The app is live. Finger guns everywhere, right? That's it. You can't do that as a mid-junior. I need to know that you understand where you're going to put your data layer, what are you going to use for your data layer, how are we going to measure performance, where are we going to do logging, where are we going to do observability, right? Observability, that's a thing that, people don't even think about when they're thinking about their interview process. Now I have to talk about this now as a mid-senior. I have to, as a junior, you're like, what is observability? Is that what am I doing? You're observing the app. You're observing the resources in the app and making sure the performance is good. Like, oh, okay, that's cool. These are the things that you now have to start thinking of. So now you have to start thinking of the architecture of your applications, designs of the systems that you're going to be building on top of all this other stuff. And of course, continuous learning. If you're anything, like I said, I'm stay ready, get ready. So I'm doing the study plan. I have continuous learning plans. I know what I'm going to learn this quarter. I know I'm going to learn the next quarter. I know what I'm going to learn. I know when I'm going to learn. I know what part of the world I'm going to be at when I learn something. I know in August I am going to be focusing on artificial intelligence with R and doing more RAG application training. And I know I'm going to be in Japan while I do that because I have the vacation in Japan, but my wife knows I'm not giving up those 90 minutes of education. So I know what I'm going to be learning, where I'm going to be learning it at, and the focus on how I'm going to be learning it, right? I'm going to be on deep learning AI, LinkedIn learning. I'm going to be on these and focusing on how to learn these two things, right? Mock interviews, your friends, your user groups, with platforms like Pramp, Interview, and IO, they're good. They're great for simulating real interview conditions. If you're in that front-end masters Discord, ask someone to, hey, do some mock with me. Ask Mark. Mark will be like, hey, Mark, is there a way we could do a mock interview Mondays and we can all practice mock interviews? Maybe that'd be a thing that your instructors would like to come and do with us as well. Something like that. Community engagement. Yo, Mark, if you see this, mock interview Mondays, I'm down. And I'm pretty sure other instructors will be down for that too, right? So, but you have to, I cannot stress this enough. The market's too wild out here. It's too volatile to go in these jobs blind and unprepared on any level, especially the technical level. The technical level is we see this as where the cortisol levels of people spike the most, because this is the part people drill the least. Right? Everyone, even today, how many times I've been asked about or brought up in the chat about the projects, but no one talks about the interview prep component, or they don't talk enough about it, or they're afraid to drill that component, because this is the part. This is not the fun part. This is not the cute part. This is the stressful part where somebody you don't know is essentially judging the things that are coming out of the other your fingers, and you have that, right? And that's that's nerve-wracking, right? I don't know this person. My anxieties are high level. I probably should have took a shot before this. I don't know how to handle this, but now I just heard this person make an audible grunt when I wrote a line of code. I don't like that, right? They just sighed. Are you rolling your eyes while I'm writing code? Like, no, don't do that. I need positive reinforcement right now, right? So it's scary. And people don't do that enough, but we have to do mock interviews. We have to do especially now, you have to practice that call into the HR, because you have to practice controlling those inflections and those uhs and ums, because there are things, like I said, false positives. Those tools, they might not always pick up that something is just like a lapse of judgment, or you say normal, it's a space for your brain to think, stuff like that. They might say, oh, you don't know the subject based on how many times you say or something like that. We have to practice these things. It's scary. You have to start practicing that. You have to start practicing the interview prep when it comes to the technical a lot more, because we have to start thinking about performance now, not just solving for X. You have to solve for X in a manner that, while it's still readable, it's also performant. And you're like, oh, that sucks, because performant code usually isn't readable. So now I got to figure out where to do the trade-offs at, and you got to be able to explain your trade-offs. So you have to practice that stuff. Feedback. Now, legally, they tend to not give you feedback at companies, because they don't want you to come back and say, oh, you were discriminated against, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So they don't ask for, so they don't tend to give feedback on there. But practice sessions, you get feedback. You get so much feedback till it hurts. I want you, when it comes to the goal of being better, feedback is a gift. Like, when it comes to practice, I like getting feedback in practice. Work, not so much. Unless it's a good job, I don't like feedback at work. But if it's practice, I love feedback during practice, right? Because you learn a lot. Well, when I was boxing, we had a saying about easy training, hard fight, hard training, easy fight. It's the same way. If you make the experience of getting the job hard on yourself, the actual getting the job is going to be easy. If you make the experience of getting the job easy on yourself, the actual experience is going to be hard, right? Like, you have to do these things. You have to get this feedback. You have to start, in boxing, it was pretty easy. You got the feedback pretty immediately. You got punched in the face. Like, oh, your hand was down. Oh, I hit you in the nose because you didn't have your hands up, idiot. Like, in tech, it's not so much. So you have to do these. You have to be intentional with getting your feedback, right? And add it to an Excel sheet. I don't know what I was about to say, Express, Excel combined. I use Notion. I don't use either one. I don't know why I said that at all. And I add my feedback there, and I keep like a little feedback docket. And I'm like, how do I improve my game? Consistency. You don't have to do this stuff every day, but you need to be doing it at least every week. I spend 90 minutes a week doing just code challenges. I spend 90 minutes a week drilling down my interview prep, my verbal interview prep. Like I'll have one of my friends, Noel, or I have somebody, one of my board members. I even have a troop. Hey, I want to go through my verbal interview prep. Here's some questions. We're going to generate these questions on ChatGPT. Here you go. You ask these, and we'll go from there. Right? I do this because I want to. I want to practice what I preach, right? And like I said, I'm obsessive with the training of getting a job because of how, I know that part is the second most stressful part is the 90-30 to 30-60-90 at the job. But the most stressful part is, getting to the job, right? Getting through the interview. So we have to be, the only way you mitigate that stress, those cortisol levels, is by practice, is by being consistent with your practice. The same way, like if I go out there and I try to run a mile with Mark today, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. Y'all might not ever see me again. This will be the last get the software engineer job ever, course ever. However, if I practice running a mile 3 times a week and I run with Mark after like 6 weeks of it, you know what? We'll have a version 5. It'll be cool. So like that is, the same, we do working out. It's the same level. Like, you got to practice, make it consistent. So by doing this, by focusing on company-specific problems, when I say that, I think one of the things that we're having right now is people are just applying for jobs and they're not being intentional with the application. So they're just like, oh, I'm applying all these jobs. And again, all right, once you get the application, are you focusing on what CS fundamental would apply to that job? That is what I want you to really look at. All right, now that I'm here, what are the CS fundamentals that will apply to this job, to that job, to this job over here that I'm going to be going to code challenges? Let me start there and then work my way backwards on code challenges, right? Like, let me find 3 CS fundamentals that matter in this type of company, in this type of industry, then work my way back, right? This approach, it cuts down time. That's the first thing that I picked up. It helps me focus on the things that matter to this company fast, right, when it comes to performance. And then it helps me get the practical application concepts. I'm a very practical person. I don't like theory at all. I think military drilled that out of me. Theory, bad things happen when you theorize in the military, right? So you're always thinking about the practicality of it. The same concept when it comes to like learning how to code. I've always been practical when it comes to code. I hate theory. Like, let me put this on the screen and let's see this thing work in action. Oh, it actually works. Cool. I'm going to use this, right? So adding that practical application to computer science is going to help it stick more, right? But it also will demonstrate to interviewers that you care about their business. You're looking to have the skills that be relative to their business. You're thinking, one thing I always think about when I'm going to a job or going to an interview is, what is the line of business? What is the business revenue line of this company? And what skills do I have and how do I apply that directly to that? Right? Like, if I'm talking about artificial intelligence, I'm going to see, how can I apply this to that? How can I apply this to get out the way, right? No one wants any more Gen AI things. This is all played out. This is cool. Like, well, can we do predictive analytics? Can we do sentiment analysis? Can we do computer vision? Can we do ICR, OCR? Can we do any of that, right? Like, that is what I start thinking about, right? How do I help with the business revenue line? And that's what I want you to start thinking of when you're going through these processes of getting a job. Congratulations, y'all. Thank y'all for sticking with me. I know it's been a long day. I know I've talked a lot. We covered over a lot of stuff. We're going to have these slides out for you. We're going to do a lot of this. I'm going to make sure there's a lot of coursework added to this as well with Mark and crew, so that way we're making sure that this is strong. And I also have those templates out for the resumes. Now, be careful and check those resume templates every quarter. I will be updating that resume template every quarter. When I update my resume is when these resume templates will get updated. So that the resume template that you saw today, that is May's resume template. Our divestment happened today. And that resume is the official one from what we've learned this month or today. So that information is fresh as of at least a week ago. So a matrix to plan your journey, all the things we've gone over. Matrix plan your journey, data-driven resume to enrich with relevant keywords, GitHub and LinkedIn profile pages that showcase you and your skills, networking strategies for wherever you are in the stack of learning how to of being in software, and your focus interview preparation tactics. My ask for you is you continue to refine your skills. You want to stay connected with the work I do. Support Vets Who Code. Make a donation. If not, you can always contribute by helping mentoring, especially if you're within 2 years. Please go ahead and sign up our first sergeant program. Follow me on social media and explore our hashtag shop where you get cool little hats like this and support troops. But yeah, let's continue to grow together. Find me on LinkedIn. That's for people at home, people here. Find me on LinkedIn. Connect with me. If you have questions, don't hesitate to slide into my DMs. Please don't. People are always sliding in my DMs, so give me some time, right? But just be clear, give clarity on what you're looking for, so that way I can help you in the most expeditious manner, right? So if you need help, need me to do a resume review, GitHub review, look at your portfolio, anything, don't hesitate to ask. All right, and that's a wrap.